Do we get a senior citizen?
Good morning, breakfast clubbers! Fortunately for you, Frank doesn't have the song sheet, but I can sing anyway. Okay.
Yeah, we can sing anyway.
We can remember. Back in black! What we're going to do today, we have Rachel and Tony we'll go ahead and give a proper introduction here in a little bit. They're going to, speak to us and show us and give us some goodies. And we'll see. Now, Rachel, did you have something you wanted to put on the computer?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah.
You are?
Yeah, yep.
Yes. Okay, well, whatever that is needs to be up here.
Okay. Do you have Wi-Fi?
I can. Okay, now this is what's going to happen. We had 3 major events that have been going on, and Tony had to get coffee or whatever. We had the Arizona Prepper Fest that went on, I don't know what, 3 weeks ago. And the one thing that a lot of us have been waiting for to see and manifest in the open, a lot of us have been activists, we could see this happening and building over the years. What we saw was this. You go to the Prepper Fest and you would have concerned individuals that may have been of the right or left persuasion from various different perspectives on the spectrum of life here in America. You have people that go, there's something wrong, and we're going to make sure that we're prepared for that. We're going to go ahead and have a place for us to go. We're going to make sure that we express ourselves in a conservative manner in politics. You have oath keepers, certainly represented. They're like military and police that have said, we're going to take this oath thing seriously. Then you have people that think we're going to go ahead and take this constitutional mindset and we're going to go into the parties. We're going to go into the Republican Party. We're going to try and change the direction of the ship of state. Okay? We're going to steer it over here because we're all riding on this ship. We got to be careful about the ship. There are the anarchists of us saying, get your own damn ship, and you're going to worry about it. Okay? So that's a whole other thing. So what happened is that while they're trying to fix the ship of state and they're starting to learn just how many holes are in the ship. So they're spending all their time bailing, instead of working towards something, and they start to come together and realize that simple things like communication and food and the structures that you live in and not being too hot or too cold or too hungry or too anything else, and starting to pass this on to children, and they start to find out that the kids already know. They had a Facebook account in 3 months and they're already, we're waiting for the zombie apocalypse, we'll be fine, peace out. You'll be wanting us to plow your field. Maybe not. Then you have on the other side people that kind of have seen the benefits of the health of eating right, of kind of being their own communities. They get with people of like mind. And that mind a lot of times is directed more towards if government would do certain things, if they really were there to serve our interests and our needs, they would be more likely, instead of spending all this money on bombs and planes and all this other stuff, why wouldn't they spend it over here on community garden or community this or community collective de la kibbutz and whatever the heck, okay? So a lot of times, those people, they make a lot of sense. They're going, look, just one freaking bomb is the cost of, fill in the blank Little Red House School or something. What they don't understand is there's a large growing group of young that have come up understanding, the same government and guys that made that bomb, I don't want them in charge of the school. You know what I mean? So we're starting to try and build an infrastructure that is for us, by us, without any, we're not seeking permission. We're not looking for, but at the Prepper Fest, what did we see? We saw both groups that are, doing the same thing for pretty much the same reasons, but from a different perspective, all of a sudden start to overlap. We've been screaming this for decades, and we saw it starting to happen and manifesting here. These people, I interviewed a bunch of them on the left, a bunch of them on the right. And what's happening now, we have another event. Karen Johnson has moved up Navajo County, where she kind of was from and had a home up there for a long time anyway in Springerville. And Navajo Republican Party is in disarray, according to the guys that were original executive committee. They're like, you know, all our Indians are like gone rogue. They're doing what they want to do, and we have the shiny badge and we're in charge of the whatever you have to do, and you're not doing it, and that's bad. Okay, fine, you want us to come to me. They come in and they start taking over the positions. They start getting voted in. They start getting elected to city councils in small communities. They start taking over part of the bureaucracy. They start having events. They start doing, they go, wait. We didn't want you to come in and get active and do what you wanted. We wanted you to do what we wanted. Because what do we always hear? Where's the young? Where's the youth? Where's it, you know, we got all these precinct committee positions vacant, and we need people to fill it. Don and I were approached in the 90s. We could, good Christians, couples, we could take, they had a plan. The plan, we were going to take, we have a plan. Everybody's got a plan. And they want me to help them with their plan. But they don't give a rip what my plan is. For me. Yeah, but you know, we got to save the ship of state. They're so worried about the ship, they don't worry about the people. So what's happened is around the country, and I've been talking, we'll have on the radio show this next week, Charles Goyette. We had a long conversation this last week, time for him to come back on. Because he and Dr. Paul have been doing this joint twice a day. It's like a 5-minute news break in the morning and in the afternoon, 5 days a week on 125 stations. The only major media they're not in is LA and New York. So those are the big ones they want to break, okay? So they're all, you know, Chicago and St. Louis and Phoenix, and you know, they're all over the place. Anybody heard them on Phoenix? What station are they on in Phoenix?
KFNX.
Which is what?
1100 AM.
KFNX, okay. So so you have them in major media markets. All of a sudden, every day, you know, you're driving along, and all of a sudden you get a break with Charles Goyette and Ron Paul. And seriously, how long do you need? For you, good, bad. And they do it in whatever the story is of the day.
What time are they on, Ernie?
I have no idea. It changes each market. It's whenever the station owner puts their thing in.
It's about 10:30 here. Okay. What day?
So what happens is this has had I get a lot of communications in email, call on the radio show, I talk to them, interview people, blah, 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 that are affected by this. There is a wave of people coming. They're still using traditional politics a lot of times, and if they are, this old kind of we just rule and it's our team thing's not working. Is that Thomas?
No. Need a cell phone blocker.
So what happened is I'm going, yeah, you know, I'm seeing this manifest itself across the country and across the world. We deal on a worldwide basis. So I'm going, yeah, you know, peace, you guys just keep doing what you're doing. We'll talk more about it this week. But there's a lot of ways that this manifests itself. When I started interviewing a lot of the people left, right, and so on from the Prepper Fest thing, one of them was Rachel. And your last name, Linden? Linden. Rachel Linden represents GMO-free AZ. We have known a lot about .com. We have known a lot about, you know, genetically modified organisms is like, you know, not good, okay? As years have gone by, just basically, I'm going, let me see, you start tampering with the foundation of life, and we spent, God made us this way, or we have evolved this way. I mean, it's really the way the way you look at it. We are conditioned to eat, you know, like food, certain food. You change the fundamental foundation DNA of the food. That's not like, I mean, that is definitely rolling some big dice.
Unintended consequences.
Unintended. Or intended, you never know.
Ask Jack.
So this is, I knew this was happening, but I had no idea how far it had gone. You know, see that mouthful of whatever you got right over there? Okay. So we're changing our diet, we're doing different things, and we want to lead by example. And we see a big market in this, and it covers a along a wide spectrum of political philosophies, because it's getting down to, hey, can I not die? Now they want you to be afraid and fear the boogeyman that's out there, that there's somebody with, a turban on that's, wants to kill you, okay? While at the same time, you go down the grocery store shelf and they're really doing it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's just, and this, I'm not getting off of this chemtrail thing. I mean, I am like, people, Ernie, you really think? I go, look, all I know is if they can, they are. If they can do whatever, then they are. What, they're going to say, oh, I wouldn't do that. That'd be wrong. Okay? So it's got to where, I tell you, when I go golfing, you get a nice golf shot, boom, and it goes up, and it comes down, and it hits about this angle, and you can't see it anymore. Because the sky has gotten so gray at about that day, it's camouflaged. So all the people I've golfed with, they'll be saying all this. I go, yeah? Do you remember when you used to be able to see your ball to the ground? I mean, think about it. Could you see it? Well, yeah, but it's kind of hazy. I go, it's everywhere. And it's every day until all of a sudden there's that one day you get a big, bright blue sky with white clouds, if any, and you go, I remember that 20 years ago. It's now a rarity. I remember in the 70s when I was a kid, and we first moved here in like 72 or something like that. I was in the late 70s in high school, and I remember when we first saw our first regular smog. And they go, oh, it's coming from LA, or here, whatever, it didn't matter. But we're like, woo, we're a big city, we got smog, look at this, yahoo! Okay, late 70s, I remember this. So what is it now, 30 whatever years later? And I'm going, is there a day without it? Cars got more efficient, we have, there's just stuff. So I'm going, all right, can we measure the stuff? Yeah, we measure their stuff. As we started to have the contacts and exchanging emails and so on with people at the Monsanto march, that was last Saturday, we'll be talking about that. Rachel will get us up to speed on that. There were people that you start getting on your email and so on, and you start communicating Facebook, and more people come to Freedom's Phoenix and everything, and Alma's doing our social networking, promotional stuff, and she goes, yeah, I asked the people, a lot of new people from Monsanto and everything, I said, hey, what movies should I got Netflix now, what movie should I see? Oh, she got 30, 40 responses, all this, and a few people said, Toxic Skies. Anne Hirsch, or Heesh, or whatever she is, a girl, she's a semi-famous actress, Ellen DeGeneres' girlfriend, whatever. She played the star role in this thing, and it was all about chemtrails and how they're killing people and doing it. And this is a made-for screen drama movie thing, and I'm going, well, heck, that's about time somebody did something. Of course it's dramatized and blah blah blah, but. It was interesting that we're starting to see the penetration into popular culture. A lot of this stuff that we were crazy, now all of a sudden you're not so crazy anymore. So I'm seeing a big shift and change, and we were going to launch our big whatever this e-zine coming out next Friday, but we're not quite ready. And I'm going, man, I don't want to rush it. And I go, well, hell, we're going to do it 4th of July, Independence Day, declare your independence, Ernest Hancock, Freedom's Phoenix, Independent. Why the hell was I thinking not to do it in July anyway? So we're going to be launching the hard launch on the subscription and the magazine, all this other stuff in July. Yesterday, the gentleman you see up here, his name is John Bush. John Bush is an activist that he and a girl named Catherine Bleich did a project driving across the country back in 2010, I think it was, to where it was all about diffusion, the diffusion project. And they went and visited fusion centers across the country, interviewing them, and we hooked them up with an interview, the head of the fusion center here in Phoenix. And they made the mistake of talking to him. So they did videos on it and showing, a lot of people didn't even know or understand the fusion center thing. They didn't understand that all local law enforcement and the sustainable development and Sovietization of everybody and the signing on of everything included everything from what you plant in your front yard to what police force comes and says you can't. They became a couple. Kat became pregnant. We were all very excited about two really well-known activists starting to create another generation. Catherine was best known for exposing the MIAC report. You guys remember that? It had where if you had a Ron Paul bumper sticker or something, you need to get stopped. Okay? Well, they made a big, and she's marching up, had all the people going to the governor's office, man, you will and why, and you got to retract and do amended. Oh, she's real butthead about this. Okay? That's why they went and did the diffusion project.
Ernie, what's a diffusion center?
Pardon me?
What is a diffusion center exactly you're talking about?
No, defuse. It was a project to highlight that there were fusion centers.
He doesn't know.
That was it.
What?
Fusion center.
Yeah, what's a fusion?
Multi-jurisdictional task forces. It started in the 90s. Here comes, Arpaio and oh yeah, we got a multi-jurisdictional task force. It was the federalization of local law enforcement. The Homeland Security, when they started doing, now they started making official, I got the card of the Phoenix police sergeant that has an FBI email. Now, how I know this is he's one of the very good friends of Mark Victor. Don and I have gone on vacations with him before and everything. We didn't know, we were at a party one time talking about the new guy that they put in charge of the Confrontation Prevention Squad, the social community whatever guy. And he goes, yeah, we're kind of surprised that guy was in there. He's not like, your officer-friendly type, And I'm going, yeah, I know. I met, it's, ooh, and he was the guy that was arresting people at the Occupy Phoenix thing. So we can see what's happened. The nice guys are kind of being pushed out. They're going, one of the guys, my contacts inside the Phoenix Police Department, whenever he called me, he goes, he'd warn me, well, I'm calling on, so-and-so Sergeant whatchamacallit's line. It's being recorded, So this is, I can see what's happening. Well, they made it official, and now under the Department of Homeland Security, they created what they call fusion centers. These centers, all the information from all local jurisdictions, any arrest, all the databases and everything, go into one database that just might as well just give it to Janet Napolitano. So it's a fusion of information, okay, is what it really is. So the fusion centers, what they were highlighting, and they wanted to do a diffusion project going around. The whole thing, they weren't going to stop it. They just wanted to demonstrate and show people that they existed. People, oh no, they're going, what fusion center? I don't know what you're talking about. Ernie, you must be a conspiracist, really. Watch this, okay? Yes, we're a fusion center, da-da-da, So this is the kind of people that these were. John and Kat moved to Texas, and they wanted to raise their family, and they just had a second child. Both of them were home births with midwives. They do the documentation of all this stuff. He has the radio program an hour right before my 3 hours. So when you get up and it's Rise Up with John Bush. So Rise Up Radio is the show before mine. Now I did his show with him yesterday, and we're talking and so on. Long story short, the project that we're working on kind of mirrors what they're doing, and we're going to overlap and help and work and cross-promote and all this kind of stuff. We're going to build the aqua dome that we did, 2 geodesic domes that go together, and I'll show you pictures here in a little bit, that we built on the side of our home, and we're going to do a big aquaponic thing. When we were at Tony's Prepper Fest, we met 2 aquaponics companies that's working with us. A biodiesel generation of biodiesel from the algae that you feed the fish in the aquaponics system. And a Hope system, which is a solar-powered water pumping kind of whatever. This whole thing not only can be done and produce a lot of food, and we're going to find out how much, and healthy food, but it's off-grid. This is what John and Kat are trying to do also. So we're going to, because leaders in this voluntarist, love-illusionary, just, we just don't need you, we're over here concept is well underway. I'm going to show you a video real quick of John. It's just a kind of a presentation of what they're doing. 12 episodes. They've already done 3. When they get all 12 done, they're going to release it as a DVD package and as part of their thing. I'll just let you watch it.
Center for Natural Living is a tax-exempt, nonprofit organization based in Central Texas. The mission is to demonstrate the value of voluntary cooperation and natural living in the areas of sustainability, family, and health. by creating educational media and helping others to fulfill their basic needs.
Needs such as growing your own food, getting fluoride out of the water, and living a more healthy lifestyle.
We're going to be doing natural health education courses in underserved communities here in Central Texas. We're going to be finding individuals and families that are wanting to pursue natural health remedies, and we're going to hook them up with healthcare professionals as well as vitamins, nutrients, and supplements. Another thing we're going to be doing is purchasing at least 100 fluoride water filters and donating them to new or expecting mothers so they can filter the water that they provide their children.
With the current political climate and just what's happening in the world, the solution is quite simple. It's criticize by creating, and you can do that through an organization like Center for Natural Living. It's all about being the solution now.
One of the projects we're working on this year with the Center for Natural Living is the Blush Family Farm. It's a 2.5-acre farmstead on the outskirts of Austin.
We have a kitchen garden, about 80 chickens on the property. There are chickens in every stage of life, and we teach people about the life cycle.
The farm is a great place to learn how to garden, to learn about the soil and the makeup of the soil. It's a great place to teach children how things grow.
We have flowers, flowers that grow.
I really look forward to taking Rachel out to the farm. It's a fun time every time we go.
Water, and then we get bigger.
Teaching parents how to empower their children to be strong, independent, free-thinking people.
Well, I always teach my children that creating community and relationships is really the foundation of a peaceful, joyful life.
At the Center for Natural Living, we have a saying that we ought to use community, not coercion, in order to solve our common problems.
The Center for Natural Living really gives an example of being the solution and going out and creating community.
Taking what each other knows and building this beautiful thing together.
We encourage volunteers to come out every Sunday and get their hands dirty.
But it's a place for all those people who really feel kind of disenfranchised with the whole system where it is right now.
The Center for Natural Living is empowering our community. I think it's beautiful, and I'm really excited to see how far it can go.
Ron Paul libertarians. These aren't the hippie left. These are people that understand the economics of agorist marketing. They understand that if it's not sustainable, it's not going to work. They understand. Gee, I wonder if I want to work with them. See my point? This is happening not later. Donna and I visited that farm last summer, right? We went there, and they're just, you know, they didn't show their decomposing dead chickens and the soldier black fly larvae for the calcium supplement or the whatever. And I'm going, ew. Okay, I guess we can do that. So they're really doing composting, the whole thing. So when we went to the Prepper Fest, we toured in the summer before last summer. We had done a lot of this. We went to Washington State and did kind of the same thing. Learned how to milk goats, make cheese, all that kind of stuff. You know, Gary and Verda helped us with our first garden there, and it got to where, oh my God, I need to have something more contained to where I can do it. So we did this, the Aquadome. 2 men go in. Because what we're looking to do is be able to accomplish the same thing in a very small area. Because not a lot of people tell you, won't you be my neighbor? So you've been hearing us talking about this idea of being my neighbor. That's the 2 domes. They connect together as there's a walkway in between. This door over here, this is where my studio is. Every morning when I'm doing in here, this is my studio. This is, you know, kind of a closet, and this is the laundry room. I walk down the hallway, come out here right during break. I walk right in the door, go in, do kind of this, that. We'll have the webcam up there. You'll see some of the pictures and the angles that we have. A lot of the equipment will be out here. We have our water feature pond I'll show you. But the whole point, this is the front road. You know, my neighbors, you'll see how they see this. They're already asking, what the hell are you doing? And it's kind of cool, but what is it, all right? So we're going to be covering, that's what I'm going to be shopping for coverings today. This is what the deal. Now, this is the money dome that we're going to be taking up to Freedom Fest. Tony's going to be telling us about the Freedom Fest also. That's a couple of weeks up in Pine Top Lakeside, Springerville, wherever it is up there. That Karen Johnson is working on creating opportunities for the people to resist the corruption in Navajo County there. Had some women call and tell me their stories. I'm like, oh, wow. I'll give you this. a young girl, well-known, well-liked, great, wonderful, kind of criticizing a candidate for some judge position or justice of the peace or whatever the heck it was up there, criticizing them 40 days in jail for criticizing a candidate for public office. And I want the details on this. And she, all right, so she's sending it, I'm starting to go over that. That was interesting. Now we do the Money Dome. Now this is what it looks like when we go to festivals. So when we go, I mean, it's like, you know, bring it on. So we're going to have this up at Freedom Fest. This afternoon I'm going to put this up, make sure all the parts are there and I didn't miss anything. Then pack it back up, and then we'll be taking that up there. So you'll see the dome up at the up there. Now, this is me plowing. This is my next door neighbor. It's horse property all around me. So they're going to be getting a good dose. Now this is the water feature. When you guys come to parties and so on, you see that waterfall, that's where the tilapia are going. So we have like 3 times the size that we need. So we need a couple of big catfish to keep the tilapia population down. Now it has another little reservoir that can kind of do this meandering stream thing that somebody built there. And so we can plant there, so we might do that in the future. But this is kind of the view that you get. These are the pictures. This is where the video is going to be kind of looking that way. And then you'll have, you know, probably up on this pole here, we'll have cameras that will look this way. We may do 24/7 webcam kind of thing. Hey, let's go check out the farm. All right? Now, these are piles of 3 different sizes to make the dome the way that we do it. And those are 2 domes right there. You can pack both of those domes and have, heck, you can make a cabin to live in a space about this big and that long, put it on a trailer and go. I mean, this is what we do. So leveling. Now this is kind of the angle that you see of our backyard. That red thing in the back, that's the chicken coop. We have citrus trees and goats and kind of, so it'll be cool. Now this was the where we had done the garden before with Gary and Berta, and this produced more than we could eat. You know, we had to learn about canning and all kinds of stuff. So I threw you know, the straw out, made kind of a nice floor. Got it all level. There's the rods, and then we started putting it up. Now this is kind of the plan. The domes connect, and this door right here, it kind of made out being here, so I may put another one here too, because I really wanted to access the deck. But I come out, I go in, I do whatever, and I come out. Now the pond's back here. What's going to happen is we're probably going to be using a lot of hanging vertical aquaponics, because it fills up the area. You get a lot more use of the space. So this is us putting it together. Now this is the guy, this is one of the aquaponics guys that was out there doing some measurements and different ideas of things to do. This is what it looks like from my neighbors, you know, coming down the street. This is what it looks like from the front. Now what colors would I use? I'm going to cover it probably with kind of Santa Fe, you know, red mountain kind of coloring and designs to get funky. I sewed the last one, so there, you know, I can do it. Okay, now this is the company that has the Saguaro Materials. They're the ones that do the biodiesel, so they're working on it. Now, that Chad guy, that the aquaponics, and these guys have both already had film for Doomsday Preppers that's coming out in September, October. The problem is, it goes like this. These guys take, and that's what John and Kat from Stable Living, they had these cable reality shows come to them, and they say, oh yeah, but we control everything. We say what, do this kind of film, they go, you know what, peace out, we'll do it ourselves, have a nice day. Told them leave. Chad had them come in, and for them to do the show, they still got to make you a doomsday prepper. They don't want to just talk about your aquaponics. They go, that's not sexy enough. We don't care about that, okay? So they paid for him to build a panic room off the side of his bedroom that had a trap door that went to a tunnel that went to the back of his property to a waiting Jeep so he could bug out really fast, okay? And he's like, well, are we going to do anything about the aquaponic kind of stuff? And they go, well, we'll come back later and do that. Don't worry about it, you know. So the Lord knows what's going to happen. I'm encouraging you. I said, look, man, we'll pump the living crap out of what you're doing and this and everything and preempt these guys in case they come out being stupid. and we'll make fun of them, because we can. So this is what's going on. It's just starting. Now I could start, now I'm not so worried about where we are in the progress of this to do the magazine and what we're doing. All this is cool already, plus with my lab and everything, we got plenty to do. The problem is social networking that we're doing with a lot of different people. It's just still, coming on. It's a lot more complicated than I thought, and we're pretty much done yesterday, but I had already made the decision to kind of put it off because 4th of July. So we'll go ahead and launch it with that. The whole point of this is to build up an enormous production in food so that we can share the concept and the food with other people in October. Mid-October, we're going to have one of the fields that we have back there. We're going to have, because we have a couple acres, we have some pretty large fields. One of the fields next to my barn is like this, okay? It's like 4 times that size. It's just a big area. So what we're going to do is we're going to plant a pumpkin patch. It's going to be, we're going to sit out there and wait for the great pumpkin, okay? All the kids are going to come out and they get to pick their pumpkin, and we'll have a big festival and weekend, and everybody come out and they'll put up their structures, their 10 by 10s, their domes and so on, bring their quail and so on. Leo and his daughter, they came out for days, and Mike helped, Mike Ford and Keith Cernick, and so we built 3 of these domes. One of them went over to Leo's. As he's getting his backyard ready and everything, he's going to be building his. Well, I'm going to be putting together the other dome today, so if you want to see how it's done, come, it's not that big a deal. But also how the covering's sewed. I'm going to be getting stuff for that.
Where do you get the domes at? Or do you make your own?
Yeah.
I made them.
Oh,
Okay.
I will show you. Now we need to get to the speakers, but this is why we're doing this with the speakers, these particular people, because they already have the people in the mindset that want to do this kind of stuff. They're still educating. Don't eat that. Okay, what do I eat? Well, I don't know, but don't eat that. See my point? If you don't have a solution or where to go or where they're organic or who's got it or how to do it, you're just wasting your time. So you still got to produce calories. This was the first one that we did. These things are strong. I mean, you can just hang from them. There's Donna and Bob. Now what we did, and this is the formula you go in, what happens is you say, all right, I want what radius? I put like 8-foot radius, 16-foot diameter, and it tells you exact lengths of these 3 different lengths of conduit. Now this is a 3-phase, you make them different ways. I need 30 of the A's, 55 of the B's, and 80 of the C's, times 3.
What is the material?
It's this. It's electrical conduit, half-inch conduit. You just cut it to length, then you press it, and we got a pneumatic press, that John Stewart was, the pro at. So he was doing that. Then you drill.
1,000 of them.
Yeah. Then you sand it, get it all smooth so it doesn't tear the fabric. And then you got a pin that holds them together. And then you'll see here, there are 3 colors: white, black, gold. So you can see which different sizes made the different structures. So you go ahead and you just start putting it together. It took me about 2 hours for me to do it by myself, and then at the end I need a little help, and now with a ladder thing and whatever, and I can do it. There you go. There's my granddaughter. She's like, I want Princess House. Make me one. So she came out. When we were doing it, she came out. She's 3.5 years old. She's got safety glasses on, her little work gloves she has. She's like, hey man, you making my Princess House? Let's get on it. Well, whatever. So I dealt with that. Now, then you got to have a construction map. Now see, all this stuff we did a year ago or more to demonstrate how this is done. When you have the this map, it shows you the design. These are the short pieces, these are the long pieces, and they're all bordered by the medium-sized pieces. You construct this together, boom, it makes a dome. So now you know how it's done. Conduit, cut, press, drill, certain lengths that it gives you, you put the pins in, put it together, boom, done.
The equipment to do all the bending and cutting is at your house?
Yeah.
So if he wanted to come over and make a contribution.
Yeah. Now, what we do is you'll see here, one phase is the same size. The answer is yes, always yes. The two phase is just two different sizes. Three phase gives you this. And the reason we go to three phase is because you can stand right here and your shoulder, head is like you get full use of the ground. Then right here we have 5 locations, here, here, and around, that we have little tables, so we bend in the 360. So when you see us up at the Freedom Fest, you'll see like what we saw at the Pork Fest, you know, we can do whatever. You go in, I go, all right, it was, to get the maximum use out of it, it was 7.62 feet was our, the distance that we wanted. 7.62. I go submit, and it automatically gives me exact lengths of what I need right there. Done! This is just an example of the information that we've been accumulating over years. You have John and Kat doing it. We have people in Wyoming, Montana, Washington State, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Missouri. This is going planetary, and it's, and a lot of times in third world countries, they go, you guys don't know how to do this, morons? You know, how the hell do you think we've been living in our third world country, you know, for thousands of years? Healthier. You don't see no, you know, fat Asians, you know, out in the rice fields, you know what I mean? So I'm going, this is already happening now. But what's holding us back? I don't know, we're going to find out. Now let's go ahead and get the, your, what do you want me to do right now? Let's go. Whatever you want to play, you just tell me where to go.
Okay, so meanwhile I can do some talking.
Go.
How about you grab that mic over there?
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? I know a few of you in here. Some cool folks in here. You I don't know, but you're probably cool too. I got into this game, and I'm going to let you pass these around. These are misprints, so you're lucky that I have them because we ran out of materials at the March Against Monsanto. It basically just says where we're from and a little blurb about GMOs. And you can thank FedEx for messing up that print job, so we have some extras to give out today for free. Okay, so I just want to say too, I love all this aquaponics business, and I love the permaculture stuff that they're doing, and I love all of that, because basically it's self-reliance, and I know that Tony's going to probably talk about that here pretty soon, and I'm in that game too. I think there's at least one former student of mine in class here, or in the room today, if he'll admit to it or not. And by the way, Larry Santoyo's in town for today, and we're going to have lunch, so if you want to join me, you're welcome to. Permaculture is one word that kind of describes a lot of what you just saw and more. If you're at all interested, that's something to maybe Google or check out. Okay, so enough with that. But I am a permaculturist. I do grow a lot of my own food. It's hard to be all things in this conversation, especially when you start talking about GMOs, because that's such a big topic. And how I got thrown into it is I was sick. I was sick for over 10 years. And it showed up like mystery diseases that had no connection. I went from doctor to doctor to doctor. Nobody could give me solutions. I thought I was dying. I had what felt like organ failure. I had asthma that wouldn't go away, chronic eye, ear, nose, lung infections, mystery rashes that went around and around. I would pick up every little thing, like stuff that only like old people or dying people are supposed to get, and I would pick it up and it'd be debilitating. And sometimes I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get rid of a cold. I had back-to-back strep throat so many times I couldn't count. I couldn't take any more antibiotics. I literally got to the place where I had been taking so many that it was wreaking havoc on my body. And so I looked for some alternatives. I looked for change. I looked for something that was meaningful and something natural, because I grew up to appreciate those things. My grandmother was a farmer. You know, there was life before antibiotics. How did that work? You know, how did they heal people back then? So anyway, and I didn't accept the fact that I was broken. I wasn't born broken. I knew there was something out there for me. I knew there was an answer. It's just a matter of finding it, right? So I prayed about it. I am a person of faith. And so I put it out there and I said, you know, please help me find a solution. I don't want to be sick like this. I had been so sick for so long that even my littlest daughter came to me in bed and said, Mommy, it's okay. I'll bring my kids to come and visit you in bed. And I thought to myself, she has never known me as a well person. She never knew I was an athlete. She never knew. I mean, here I was, early 30s, and my teeth were falling out. And I was experiencing so many health problems that I couldn't get out of bed. So one day I met a really healthy lady, and I just asked her, I followed her and asked her, I said, can you just give me like a secret, whatever it is that you're doing, can you just tell me, because I've been so sick for so long. And she says, oh, you need to talk to my nutritionist. The nutritionist took one look at me and said, you're probably allergic to wheat, probably allergic to dairy, and you should sort of maybe think about this other thing like GMOs. She kind of just said it in passing. And I laughed at her at first. I said, I'm not allergic to anything. I've never been allergic to anything in my life. I grew up, I'm Italian, for crying out loud. We ate pasta, I mean, you know, toast for breakfast. I mean, it's like, you can't, it's in my heritage to eat wheat. And she says, well, don't take it seriously, but by the time you're 50, you'll have a bag attached to the side of you. And the first thing to go is going to be your teeth, and then your eyesight, and probably one or more organ functions, because your body will start attacking itself if you don't take your food allergy seriously. And somebody will inherit you at around 60 or 65, and if you make it that long, because usually you take years off your life due to food allergies. And if you don't take it seriously, this will really affect your children, because they'll bear the burden of having you. I thought, oh God, this is a big deal. And then I went wheat-free. All of a sudden, stuff started dropping off me, like medications. I didn't have to be on the progesterone. I went dairy-free. The allergies went away. Then I figured out this thing called GMOs. Does anyone in here know what a GMO is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of familiar with what that is. Good, because some rooms I go into, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Is that like HMO? Is that a gay thing? They don't know. They really sincerely have no idea what I'm talking about. So I'm glad that you're sort of aware of it. I would suspect that most of you don't know as much as I know. And what I know changes hour to hour. And it gets spookier and spookier. And the more I get involved, the more people I know, the spookier and spookier it gets. So once I realized that it's the GMOs in my diet and that they're in 90% of processed foods in a grocery store, I thought, oh my God, this secret needs to get out. And so then I met the people who were telling the secrets, right? So the guy who made this movie, Jeffrey Smith, he's the director for the Institute for Responsible Technology. Okay, he's probably done more to keep GMOs out of the mouths of human beings than anyone else. He puts together the top scientists, doctors, lawyers, everybody. He wrote books about it. He wrote Genetic Roulette, which is for the very... It's a very large textbook for people who like to read really boring stuff and maybe who are professionally in healthcare, right? And then they have Seeds of Deception, which is a smaller paperback book that really outlines it for the rest of us. And then he made a movie for me, because that's even easier, right, on the same topic. And it's an hour and a half long. I'll only play the first 10 minutes of this, because it's just a 10-minute kind of montage of the movie. At some point, we should probably do a big movie night, and we should have him fly out and talk, because his story is amazing and it's ever evolving. Last time I had him out was in February, and it was standing room only. We had 500 people in the room. And that was just with a couple weeks notice and a couple of emails that went out. So if he does come back into town, which he is, he's coming back in October, we could do a Genetic Roulette movie for him. We'd want to make it really big. We'd want to get as many people in as possible, because his story is very unique. Now, he's not just in the U.S., he travels abroad, so he testifies in front of other governments about GMOs, and sometimes he is the only voice that keeps borders shut to GMOs. When the biotech industry sends in 200 people with a lot of money and a lot of lies, and that buys you a lot of airtime and a lot of face time with people who make big decisions and maybe do or don't have the interests of humanity at heart. So sometimes he's the only sole voice, and now I love it because people know what a GMO is. But when he started this 10, 20 years ago, nobody knew what he was talking about. They were a relatively new, kind of small, isolated technology. Now they've taken over. And so let me tell you a little bit about me within that, okay? So you know I was sick, getting better, it's a process, right? Healing your gut. So I decided to start becoming an activist, right? So how do you do that? Well, I just got coffee for everybody that was smart, way smarter than me, right? Then I started traveling and getting them their coffee and getting their luggage and taking them to events. Then I started learning it, reading everything I could, watching everything I could, listening to everything. Then I started volunteering. I started hosting events. Then I became the co-tour director behind Prop 37 in California for the Institute for Responsible Technology and Jeffrey Smith. We had 20 speakers from every kind of angle of this conversation. Economic, social, sovereignty issues, government issues. We had attorneys come out, we had doctors, we had children, mothers, allergy people. We had every spectrum of the conversation. We had people from other countries coming in to chime in and talk about it. We had researchers, top researchers come in. We had professors, we had all kinds of people. So, and we educated God knows how many people behind Prop 37. Now, Prop 37 wasn't the first, but it was one of the biggest labeling initiatives in the United States. Okay, it got a lot of traction and its first time through. And I met Pam. Pam Larry's the grandmother from Chico that actually started the initiative. Amazing, powerful woman who basically had no money, didn't know what she was doing, and everyone told her she was going to fail. And she did it anyway. And I want to say for her first run, to get almost half of the state of California to vote on a bill that literally did not even include language that said genetically modified organisms or labeling thereof. She did an amazing job. Every turn was blocked. So I can appreciate what Ernie says about, well, gosh, do you really want to allow the government to tell you what you're, do you want to ask permission or what? You know what? I get it. I totally get it. The chips are stacked against ever having a labeling initiative. I mean, we talked about doing it in our state. There are 68, or have been 68 attempts across our nation to label genetically modified foods. Not one has passed. I've watched every dirty, stupid, nasty trick in the book from every lawmaker, politician, lobbyist, you name it. They all come to the aid of the biotech industry. Their money is huge. $95 billion industry just in the United States alone. And we're not even talking about how globally our government is actually promoting this overseas and here. And I hate that. This is my government. This is America. I'm American. I'm a mom. I have kids here. I pay taxes. I work hard. I work hard so I can work hard to be here. I have a whole other job. I have a whole other career. I have 2 kids. I grow my own food. That means I'm busy. Anyhow, but I find this very, very important information. You'll be hard-pressed to see it on television. However, I understand that CNN Monday will be running an interview with Zen Honeycutt, Moms Across America, who's doing the 4th of July marches. So she's getting into the 4th of July parades and encouraging everyone to hold up banners that talk about GMOs. So that way you don't have to pull your own permit, you're right in there. Zen's awesome. I talk to her every week. I'm a part of several different groups nationally. So not only was I co-tour director behind the educational piece behind Prop 37, I am a founding member of the Coalition of States. That's 37 states who have vowed to put together GMO labeling. Although I think we're going to have to change our mission statement. Some laws have just been narrowly passed or about to pass that will inhibit interstate labeling because it blocks commerce. And so basically, yeah, if they can't get you coming, they'll get you going, am I right? So like I said, we're going to have to change our mission statement at some point. But right now, that's the initiative, that's the goal. And there are people here who are pushing for labeling. There's even some dudes who formed a PAC in Tucson, formerly of the Occupy movement. Apparently they were thrown out of the Occupy movement and decided to go with this initiative. I don't know what it takes to be thrown out of Occupy. So, I've spoken to them. They don't have my confidences, but at least now they're not occupying that, whatever. Anyway, so they're busy. They've found something else to do. I feel that good for them. Anyhow, without further ado, I'm going to play the 10-minute remix of Genetic Roulette, and then I'll talk a little bit more about GMOs if there's time.
Americans get sick more often than Europeans and people in other industrialized countries, and they're getting sicker. Since the mid-90s, the number of Americans suffering from at least 3 chronic illnesses nearly doubled, and America's international ranking for infant mortality and lifespan also plunged. There are many reasons why this is taking place. One may be right in front of you.
Take genes from one species and force it into the DNA of other species. The very process of genetic engineering creates unpredicted side effects.
It does not exist anywhere in nature.
They can put it on the market without telling the FDA or consumers.
Every single cell within that plant is producing a toxic protein.
BT is designed to break open the stomach of insects and kill them. The EPA got it wrong. It does break open little pores in human cells, and it might cause the same kind of disruption in our guts as it's causing in the insects that it kills.
How did my son get these food allergies? Our food supply is genetically modified. And guess what? The food that my son ate on August 25th, 2009 was raw corn. The corn that almost killed him.
We're continuing to feed our GMO contaminated food to our children.
The vast majority of genetically modified crops are engineered to make it easier for farmers to kill weeds. For example, Monsanto's Roundup Ready crops, which comprise most of today's GMOs, can survive applications of Monsanto's best-selling weed killer, Roundup.
Plants treated with Roundup have a reduction in available nutrients. They're weak and they're sick. The animals that eat the nutrient-deficient plants, they become nutrient-deficient and weak and sick. Then we eat the animals and the plants that are nutrient-deficient, and we may become weak and sick. In addition, the residues of the Roundup in the plant can end up in our bodies where they can chelate, hug some of the nutrients that are in our bodies, making them less available as well. Lab animals fed Roundup Ready soy have had serious reproductive disorders. In mice, the testicles changed, including damage to the young sperm cells. In rats, there were changes in the uterus and ovaries. The DNA functioned differently in the embryo offspring of soy. More than half of their babies died within 3 weeks. The babies were also smaller and could not reproduce.
Children are particularly more sensitive to GMOs for several reasons than adults. Number one is they have higher metabolic rates. They metabolize food quicker. They need more food. And their cells are changing quicker. They are growing rapidly. So they have a higher cell turnover. They have higher metabolic rates, higher respiratory rates. So they require more nutrition. They eat more. And number two is that children are more sensitive to smaller doses of toxins than adults. They don't respond to toxins the same way.
Their immune system is not prepared for it.
Any gene changes that can be passed on to the baby can be passed on to future generations, and it's a new field of genetics called epigenetics, and that's what I'm worried about. I thought in the old genetic days, we thought that genes weren't so mutable, and we now know that's not true.
When I first discovered that GMO was in infant formula and infant food, I was outraged.
We can't say for sure that GMOs have anything to do with autism, but we can't say for sure that it doesn't. In fact, there's been an increase in autism since GMOs were introduced, and animals that eat GMOs, both in laboratory and in livestock situations, have shown some telltale signs that some practitioners say are linked with autism.
The goal of Monsanto was to replace all natural seed, to have all global agriculture completely driven by genetically modified seed, and to create a market for the chemicals associated with those genetically modified seed. There was no sense of nature. There was discussion of how to eliminate natural seed.
When I get in discussions with people, they say, well, the government reviewed them, the government's approved them, there were mountains of studies done. They couldn't have gotten it that wrong, and if it was so bad, somebody would speak up about it. But in reality, the few people that have spoken up about it have paid a high personal and professional price for it.
Because of the direct investments of these companies in our universities, new professors know very well that if you expect to get tenure, don't do any negative research on GMOs.
Ultimately, the buck stops at the scientist evaluating. That's me. Then, if I agree then I'm part of the corruption that's happening. If I don't agree, I get fired. I chose to be fired.
People always ask me, can we reverse the damage from eating a genetically modified diet? Well, mice in an Italian study give us some hope. They were fed genetically modified soy for 8 months and showed damage to their livers, pancreas, and testicles. But when they were put on a non-GM soy diet for the next month, a lot of the problems reversed.
I've had a lot of different patients come in with various stages of chronic disease. That's what I specialize in, sort of these complex cases. And by changing the diet around, changing their nutritional status, a lot of the things that they come in with literally just go away.
There are only 9 genetically modified food crops, but their derivatives are found in over 70% of the foods in the supermarket, particularly the processed foods. There are 4 ways to avoid GMOs. Buy organic, buy products that say non-GMO, buy products listed in our non-GMO shopping guide, or avoid the at-risk ingredients altogether. Principally, soy, corn, cottonseed oils, canola oil, and sugar from sugar beets. Most of those crops are genetically engineered. So if it's grown in the US and it doesn't say organic or non-GMO, it's genetically engineered.
The failure to disclose in this, to me, is the real issue. Europe labels these things, Australia labels these things, Asia labels these things, and yet here in the US we've all just been blissfully ignorant. I have a problem with that because it's not in the best interest of my family.
It's hard enough as a mom to have to go in and read every label. Your time's limited, and you really have to be knowledgeable about it. It should have been in there all along. I feel like we were tricked.
These products are on the shelf before you even know they are, and now they're in everything.
I don't want to be a human lab rat, and I certainly don't want my 2-year-old daughter to be a human lab rat.
The GMO labeling issue is on fire in the United States. Bills have been introduced in 19 states, although none have yet gotten past Monsanto's lobbying and influence peddling. In California, we have a real chance of victory because in California, it's a ballot initiative. People vote directly. So we finally have a chance to get what 9 out of 10 Americans have wanted for more than a decade, mandatory labeling of genetically engineered foods.
I have enough questions about this technology to wonder what's happening with us. We have studies that say everything's okay, that in the industry, an industry that I don't trust. We have studies by independent doctors that say there are huge questions and that there are problems. There have been no long-term human studies done on this, and I, as a grandmother and a mother, am outraged that our government and that our agencies are not taking care of this for us. They're not protecting us. We have a right to know what we're putting inside of our bodies.
The entire world is looking to California because we can turn it around from this one place. The enormity of the threat is unprecedented in history. All living beings, all future generations. So the enormity of the solution is something that we cannot afford to let slip away.
You know, if you like GMOs, you think they're great, okay, label it. You know, just be proud of it. Buy it, label it, and, you know, we have a right not to buy it. So, you know, that's our issue. You know, we're taking that to Washington. You know, we got to bring outside pressure. We got to bring a wake-up call to FDA, and, yeah, make our voices heard.
We're taking back the power to the people.
I just want these corrupt governments and corporations to leave my body alone, to leave my family alone, to me, leave my milk alone, my food alone, my family alone, my community alone. I can take care of myself. The whole world can take care of itself.
How do we get rid of genetically engineered foods? It's much easier than you think. And we don't have to ask the government for a ballot. We can do it ourselves. In Europe, when they achieved the tipping point of consumer rejection at the end of April 1999, within about a week, most major food companies committed to stop using GM ingredients. They had become a marketing liability.
This impacts everything and everyone. It's not just an agriculture issue, it's not just a food industry issue, it's an ever-living creature issue.
It's the most dangerous thing facing human beings. in our generation.
It's in our hands. It's right in front of us. It's just a matter of avoiding genetically modified foods and inspiring others to do the same.
So that's not the full movie, that's just a piece of it. And I'm gonna hand out a sign-up sheet.
Yeah, it must be a it's the cable.
I'm going to hand out a sign-up sheet. If you're interested in future events, you're welcome to just sign in, and we'll let you know next time we have an event. Yeah, I'm loud. I'm Italian. Okay.
It's the NSA.
A sign-in sheet. If you're interested in future events, sign in. We have not even put out our first email yet, so probably about 3 or 4 years what we're going for. You're welcome to sign in. If not, pass it on, and I'll watch it. Okay, so we have other events that we're planning on doing. Hang on one second. We have other events that we're planning on doing. In fact, there's a Tea Party United event happening in August. And we're going to do a lecture, an hour-and-a-half long lecture. And I would suggest, honestly, these guys have come up big. I mean, if you can have opinions about Tea Partiers or not, I honestly don't care. I care about people who eat, okay? Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to talk about GMOs, right? And so they've hosted this event. I am so happy to do one with you guys, too. So basically, I do an hour to an hour-and-a-half long lecture, and I run you through everything that goes into GMOs. There's basically 3 kinds of GMOs out there right now, and there are going to be 4 and 5 kinds, okay? His movie doesn't even touch on it. Now, his movie came out in fall of last year, and since then, there have been a quantum leap in what's coming out. There are 140 products going through APHIS, okay? APHIS is the FDA's wing, or USDA's wing, of approval process for GMOs and lots of other things. So the next things coming out aren't just BT corn, where they've built-in pesticides that put holes in bug guts and possibly human guts. They're not just herbicides like Roundup-ready crops like soybeans and sugar beets and so forth. They are also gene silencing, right? So gene silenced apples are coming in from Canada. They're Arctic white apples. They do not brown. You can cut them and you can set them out for 2 weeks. They will rot before they will brown. They will lose all their nutritional value. And by the way, the lies that the biotech industry will tell you is they are more nutritious, they're saving the world, they're less expensive. Every bit of that is complete crap. And I don't want you to take my word for it. Come and see the lecture. Come and look for yourself. Learn for yourself. If you just scratch the surface on the varnish, it is a serious turd of a conversation. You can't even, the lies are not even catching up anymore. Countries around the world are getting smart to this, right? They don't want it. 60 plus other countries either label or ban GMOs. They'll turn them back at the border. In fact, Turkey just sent back 230 tons of GMO-contaminated rice. That's right, rice. We're not even supposed to have GMO. And 230,000 tons of it. And the guys who imported it are now on bioterrorism charges. They're being held. They're going to be prosecuted in terms of Well, where are the Monsanto executives? Where are the BAS executives? The Syngenta executives? Those guys are still on their yachts laughing themselves silly. They don't give a shit.
They're in the same place where the bankers are.
They're the same place where the bankers are. And I'm going to tell you too, I don't speak about chemtrails very often, but it's really funny who you meet when you start talking about truths and who comes and grabs you and says, I got to show you something. Well, I was a year ago in LA behind the campaign trail with Prop 37, and some guys grabbed me and said, hey, you know what, we run this GMO or this chemtrail site, we're such and such group, come and join us for a couple meetings, and I did. And they said chemtrails are one thing, chem bombs are now being lit off the coast, they follow the currents air in, and you won't even see this anymore, okay? So, and they showed me video. Do I know what I saw? I don't know. But the same people who are doing this, they say, are working on seeds that are resistant to this, because once you start putting nanosized aluminum in the air and it drops to the ground, it lowers the pH on the soil, so then you can't have germination of the seeds. So now they're working on these abiotic stress seeds, which are also powdered aluminum resistant, pH resistant. So yeah, it's kind of, you start looking at this big picture and you're like, wow, they're really locking up everything. And then you start looking at, well, what does powdered aluminum do, aside from the human factor with lungs and Parkinson's and all this? What does it do? Alzheimer's. What does it do? Well, and what is it with pH? It's also extremely flammable. Once you start looking at powdered aluminum, if you don't believe me, look at what happened in Hindenburg. Okay, powdered aluminum painted paper blew up an entire, one of the first flips, right? And in a very quick manner. So anyway, powdered aluminum, not kind of stuff.
Beautiful.
Exactly. So what happens when you spray that all over trees in the parks and recreational areas?
Arizona did a study on air particulates, and aluminum came out very high. We know that aluminum is resistant agricultural seeds. The most dangerous part is the barium.
Yes.
Barium disables your
strontium,
T cell function. We're Arizona skywatch here, and it's conclusive. It's in our air, and now it's in our bloods, like Jeffrey mentioned. It's about altered DNA. Barium is showing up in 97% of the blood exams. Legitimate exams.
Right. So with all this, and I don't want to dwell on those, but thank you for that. So here's the deal. You start putting powdered aluminum on trees, how quickly do they light up when they're exposed to flame, lightning, hot weather conditions? Okay, then, so now you need trees. Don't you know that the biotech industry has a solution for that too? And they're being planted all across the country. They're BT trees. So the same BT toxin, which by the way is poisonous and toxic from the pollen all the way down to the root system. It breeds this toxin, right? It's an ever-living, growing, and colonizing toxin that goes into the soil, goes into the water tables. It can be found in water tables now. And not only that, okay, so now we're talking about all these trees. They just put in 260,000 BT trees in the south of the United States. Arizona was saved from that, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Other southern states were exposed to those. Eucalyptus is the one they're doing right now. Arborgen is the big company taking that on. We're not even talking about textiles. BT cotton taking over India. The people there are committing suicide as their last protest, right? Okay, so, and we're growing it here, by the way, as well. On the Indian reservations, they're being hit hard. Same with the corn, BT corn. It's a complete affront to their religion. I go and I do lectures on the Indian reservations. They are completely upset about this. Okay, so that's herbicide resistance, pesticide resistance. Gene silencing is the next thing, where they silence some aspect of the gene. Now, excuse me, but if you changed any one thing in your day, would it affect your whole day? Could it potentially do that? If I gave you one child within your day and you're expected to go to work, would that change your day? And that would change your child's day. And that would change your work's day. It might even change how you get to work and back to work. So my point with it is, if you change something in the DNA, you are changing other things in the DNA. You don't know what you're doing. This is an infantile science that is not safe. In France, they're proving it causes tumors. In as early as 4 months, genetically engineered corn is causing tumors. And in 7 months, it caused tumors in the female rats, mammary tumors. By the end of the 2-year-long feeding study, 80% of the female rats had mammary tumors and had to be, their life expectancies were even cut short. 80% of them mammary. Know anybody with breast cancer? Anybody racing to find out why? I think that's a race. Maybe not a race. Maybe we pause to find out why, right? Maybe we do some cancer research studies. Anyway, so that's just part of it. Now we're talking about stacked trait. Stacked trait meaning Roundup Ready isn't enough. Roundup's not enough. Now we have to go to dicamba, 2,4-D, even more toxic and toxic and toxic chemicals, because we're getting super weeds that are tolerant to these chemicals. Now that glyphosate, the old passe glyphosate, right? Roundup, it's the active ingredient in Roundup, showing up in drinking water, measurable in rainfall, okay? In 278 reports were compiled by one scientist who I'm interviewing, by the way, next week, along with Professor Binbrook from this video. And 278 reports. What did he come out with? Glyphosate may be the most toxic substance on the planet Earth. Wait a minute, we have nuclear waste. Are you telling me this is more insidious than nuclear waste? Potentially more, yes. And we're spraying it on our food. And it doesn't even have to be genetically engineered food. They spray it at harvest time and they spray it on grain up to 3 times. Now that's a whole other thing. These stacked trait things with higher and higher chemicals. Chemicals are showing up everywhere, right? We don't need it. There was life before chemicals. We were eating. We weren't starving to death before GMOs, okay? It's a total lie and a myth that we need them. So a few more things that are happening. High contamination rates. We haven't even started talking about the experimental crops. Spermicide crops being grown open pollinated. We haven't talked about the contamination from sugar beets. 95% of the sugar that we're eating right now could be coming from genetically engineered sugar beets. Sugar beets cross-pollinate with table beets, Swiss chard, possibly kale. And in the Northwest, where they're grown in the Willamette Valley, huge major issue. Massive class action suits are forming all over the United States against organic farmers and the biotech industry. And the organics industry is losing. Our courts are wiping with the organic farmers. And then at the end of the trial, when the judge says, like Clarence Thomas, which by the way used to work for Monsanto, says, you know what? If you don't like contamination, get crop insurance. It's your fault. And then what happens is a reversal of the suits come. Thank you so much for showing us all your contamination, because those are patent-pending seeds. You owe us your farm.
Yeah.
That's happened already 140 times to 140 farms, and over 500 people have been included in those lawsuits. I interviewed, and we just had out Percy Schmeiser, which was one of the first farmers, 82-year-old farmer in Saskatchewan, Canada, to be sued by Monsanto for $1 million. He had to remortgage his farm, him and his 80-year-old wife. They lost 35-year business with canola seeds because of the contamination. Contamination's happening for crops that aren't supposed to be being grown. We've got rice contamination and wheat contamination. Oregon just said we have huge contamination rates. The FDA is looking into it to see if there's been a cover-up. Do you think there's been a cover-up? Anyway, 90% of their exports are to Japan and Korea. Just yesterday, Japan and Korea announced we are halting our imports of wheat coming into the United States.
Good.
They're starting to halt them. Russia said we don't want your corn. China's saying we don't want your rice, we don't want your this, we don't want your that. They're all stopping imports. Do you think you'd hear about this front page news? This is 90% of the exports from from Oregon State. Anyway, so there's way more to be said here. It's affecting you in so many ways that you may be completely unaware of. I would be so happy to come out and speak to you. We speak at church groups, we speak wherever you want us to come out, your political groups, wherever there's a person that eats, this is a message for them. So please, for the children.
Question? Hey, Ernie, didn't she take questions?
Yeah, at the end.
What's that?
At the end.
We're going to get to Tony.
Okay. This is, let me just show you just some of the stuff that we're covering on Freedom's Phoenix just in the last week. Okay, just on the food category. Okay, we have like 200 categories. Raw milk acquittal, victory for freedom. This is a farmer up in, where it was, Wisconsin or something. He's, what they were doing is saying, all right, fine, this is how we're going to do the raw milk. You can milk your own cow. All right. So I bought a cow, or a piece of a cow, it's my cow on his farm, and I go and get my milk from my cow that he milked. No! That violated the spirit of we didn't want you to have raw milk. Okay? So it goes through, finally he prevails, but I mean, they tried to put him out of business, and you know, more story on that. Even Dr. Paul was surprised about this, you know, support for raw milk. The week before the march in Monsanto, Don and I were at a party. Mark Victor had like a private party thing, and he's been doing a lot of this Arias trial crap and everything, and a reporter from Channel 12 was there. Young Asian, what's her name, Mary Wynn or something. She's now, oh, I'm a freedom person. Look at all this conspiracy stuff that I did, and she's telling us like, ooh, that's really big stuff. But anyway, so I'm going, really? Oh, you guys, you want to be the freedom person? You want to be the freedom reporter? Go. Push the Ernie button. Go ahead, push it. I'll tell everybody you're the freedom person. They can tell you you're gonna get freedom. Are you ready to push? Go ahead. Well, I don't know if that's what I thought, okay? So 4409 was there, Shelton, and we were watching the video, the 3-part series of him doing the Nazi food checkpoint thing, you know, the fruit Nazis. So he's like, no, I'm going to answer your question. No, I'm not doing it. No, get the book. Get your students. Call law enforcement. We're not doing it. We're not pulling over secondary. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. He gets away with it, and she's like, wow. I go, yeah, you do stuff like that? No. Next weekend is going to be a Monsanto anti-GMO kind of marching thing, doing there. Do you even know it exists? No. Of course not. I go, that's why you're not the media anymore. We are. I don't care which way you do. Say Ernie doesn't like you. Talk to your bosses. They already know that, okay? So the thing is that the following week, all of a sudden, Washington Post comes up, marches in over 400 cities protesting Monsanto. You think she might have heard about it then? Wow, that crazy alternative media guy said something about that. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. You know? So I'm going, okay. I can give you her email and stuff. You can tell her send her all the chemtrail stuff. I want you to do that. Okay. This guy is a TED Talk. TED Talks are very popular. They go and they do, it's a long story, but this guy, I'm sorry?
One of my students.
This young man right here, one of her students, He's from South Central LA, and they go and they say, you know, this little area from the sidewalk to the street, you know, that little grass area, you're responsible for that. You got to mow it, you got to keep it. He goes, okay, fine, I'll plant food there. So his little gardens, they're really nice, garden people and health, and all of a sudden it starts becoming a thing, and people growing food and everything in the city. No, you're not allowed. Why? Because training badge, all right? So it becomes a big political thing, and finally they start growing food. And his point, he goes, you ain't gangsta if you don't print your own money about growing food. So he's going, it's a culture thing. Print your own money. Grow food. Seriously. So he starts a big movement, and that's going well there. In the hood, where you would least expect it. Detroit, going to crap. The city's just abandoned and started turning off lights. Not going there, the police aren't responding to kind of, you know, you're on your own. All right, fine, we'll plant a garden out here in this field. Oh no, you can't do that. You know, so see, it's coming. Where's Freedom's Phoenix? Where's the rebirth from the ashes of liberty going to come from? Where there's ashes. I got to go to Cuba to be free. See my point? Yeah. So we see this coming. China destroys 3 shipments of U.S. genetically modified corn. Good. Done. Next. You know, this is becoming a worldwide thing. Hungary, just a few days ago, torched 500 hectares of GMO corn to try and eradicate GMO from their entire food supply. This battle is going on now. Monsanto, 71, they start listing all of the senators that voted for this GMO labeling, you don't have to label bill kind of, yeah, these guys. Right here. Raw milk acquittal. Pardon me?
Was McCain one of them?
Yeah.
You know, of course. I don't care enough to look. He already was. Oh, hell, he's a good guy now. I mean, seriously. Cure for cancer and many diseases. I tell you, I just started this last couple of days. I'm not being as anal enough, according to Gary and Donna and whatever, you know. But all it is, you know, we do the juicing thing, so this kind of goes with that. The bottom line is, Gary's done a lot of the research and started doing. How much weight have you lost in the last few weeks?
19 and 40 pounds.
I lost another 4 or 5 pounds just in the last week. You know? Hey, am I looking svelte or what? Anyway, so it's going, but I'm not a dieter, man. I'm just, you know, I'll eat your crap and then, you know, whatever, you know, just, you know, don't bother me. I couldn't eat anything this morning. I go out here and I had like 1 sausage because just out of protest. But because I'm just like, you know, because I ate this crap, okay? Let me tell you what it is. Low-fat, non-fat cottage cheese with flaxseed oil. And the reason is because decades ago, along with, you know, the big minds of the day back in the AMA went after them, no, you so better not tell anybody, was because cancers and all kinds of other diseases that we're getting is because of the way our system is working into alkaline or too acid. You know, you got to get in the right pH thing. We hear that a lot. I learned that from John when we're having respiratory problems and so on. The old movies when they put the thing over and they're doing the vapor deal, it's apple cider vinegar because it changes the pH in your lungs and it goes like that. All of a sudden, boom. All of a sudden, boom, I'm feeling better, you know, immediately by changing the pH of my, I mean, like within 10 seconds kind of stuff. So I'm going, okay, you know, there's something to this. Well, then what happens? All of a sudden, if you can oxygenate the cells that have cancer, because they don't operate really on oxygen, they're a fermentation process of sugar. That's why sugar, it's like they got a little mini brewery going on. And they can do that because we're in too acid an environment in our body. So what she understood as a chemist in organic chemistry, well, if I mix this flaxseed oil and emulsify it with the proteins and so on in the cottage cheese and just bzzz, and it makes like this consistency of yuck. You know, like sour cream. It's like mashed potatoes. Yeah, it's kind of like mashed potatoes. And all it is cottage cheese and this oil, and then whatever else you can put in it so you can stand it. And you eat it. It's a lot. I mean, you're done. I'm done eating for like 6 hours of that. I'm like, I'm good. You know, I don't even think about it. Along with the juicing, all of a sudden I feel nutrition. I densed. I got it in. But what happens? It's able to bring the oxygen into the cancer cell and kill it. Like now. It's not later, not over a period of time. I mean, I'm sure there's a process they want you to go through, but you can see the stuff happening now. This is why we've been pushing this on the site several times, because we see a lot of people that are ill. And we need to be able, because think about it, the economics have changed. My grandchildren and their parents, my son and my daughter-in-law, he makes a nice enough living that they got all their bills taken care of and she can stay at home mom. She's like, I don't want to go to work. I got like 3 little kids. Oh my God, give me a break, okay? So I'll go do it. Well, maybe, we'll watch them a little more, give you days off, whatever. But the economics is, if you stay home and you don't pay for daycare, you take in educating your kids in the real stuff that matter. Like Leo and his kids learning how to, live. Of course, she needs to know how to butcher a rabbit, so maybe we'll get to that. He goes, hey, my arm's in a sling. Well, I guess those rabbits get a reprieve for a few weeks. So what we're doing is you bring the food production home. You're not paying for daycare. Your health care goes down to nothing. You're healthy unless you break a leg or something. You are not paying the taxes. All of a sudden, it becomes cheaper for mom to stay home. And healthier. And better. Anarchists understand. Libertarians understand. The economics of this kind of thing just totally trump all this other crap. It's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's all very interesting. We're going to save money. Oh my goodness, if you get a couple solar panels, what have you done? You have pulled yourself off of the man's grid. And I don't believe they got that big a margin. How much are they in the profits with all the spread of their big empire of, from the central banking to the central food complex to the central war machine, all this stuff we start extracting and saying, we're producing a little bit more of our own power, a little bit more of our own food. We're taking care of food is medicine, medicine is food. We are taking care of this. What happens? All of a sudden their margin goes. You know what, 4, 5%, 10%? They will get desperate and they will freak out. And they'll want to have some of that market, so what do? The government's burning all this stuff in Europe isn't because of the governments. It's because of the social network and culture of the people. They are demanding it. It's already a done deal anyway. They're just growing on mom's farm. It doesn't matter. Where do we see this more in most places? I started reading some stories, started doing some research. Russia. You ever hear the dachas? Dacha? You know what that means, a second house, like your cabin. Sure. Everybody's second home, the middle class that's growing, all the people that have any kind of resources, and the people that are mostly rural in Russia, they all grow their own food. Sucks to be all you guys. This is happening not later. Japan, cancels an entire order of the United States GMO, and what are they going to want to do with all that food?
Sell it to us.
They're going to dump it on you.
Yeah.
Here we go. All of a sudden, wheat is starting to, the Oregon is all super green and everything, and they're just seeing farms just coming on, and they're just growing it anyway. Yeah, what are you going to do about it? So we'll see what happens there. So you can understand, a lot of people are like, how did you know, Ernie? How did you not know?
Yeah, really.
It's already happening here. A manifestation of that, people like Rachel. And people like Tony. Tony Tangalos from Prepper Fest AZ tell us everything, and also go on about what's going on up at Arizona Freedom Fest that's coming up too. So we'll go ahead and start with Tony. Evil coffee that I'm not supposed to have.
It's not GMO yet.
Hi, mate. Okay. Hi, my name's Tony Tangalos. I want to acknowledge Ernie when he gets back here for having me here. So, I want to talk a little bit about Freedom Fest. Come on, back.
Talk loud.
Hello.
Speak loud, brother.
Come on. All right, I'll just have to talk loud, I guess.
We can hear you.
I wonder if it's the other end. Let me see if it's over here. I'm not going to get Ernie a new mic. Test. I'm gonna get you a new mic, Ernie. Test. What's theirs?
Test.
All right, I'll hold the cord. It's got a loose wire. All right, so, well, first I want to thank Ernie for having me here. I love his presentations. He always makes me laugh, and comedy is a part of, most comedians do comedy because they got something that's misery in their life, and they have to laugh about it or they want to shoot themselves. So I want to acknowledge Ernie and thank him for having me here, and thank you for keeping things entertaining, which I will try to maintain. I don't think I'll be able to do as good a job as you did. I also want to acknowledge Rachel. I've had her on my radio show, The Prepper Patch, a couple months ago, and we're going to have you on again. And what she's talking about, this GMO thing, is huge. It's big. It's real. I'm very concerned about it. We're supporting the heck out of her. We had her at Prepper Fest along with Ernie. We're going to be doing another Prepper Fest coming up here. Our website's kind of lame. Ernie's the king of social media. I'm like in kindergarten. I'm still in preschool on that. I need to get some help from Ernie, but I'm just getting started here. You're going to help. I put all my energy into the Prepper Fest. So, and word was it was a good time. Show of hands, how many of you went to Prepper Fest Expo? Holy cow, almost half. Fantastic. Did you guys like it?
Yeah.
Should we do another one? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. It's so before we get there, I want to just mention a few things. Rachel told a little bit of her story, what got her into GMO. What got me into prepping is my dad. My dad grew up in the Great Depression. He was born in 1922. 1929, his parents moved every month because they couldn't afford rent, and he went to bed hungry every night. So his childhood, from 7 years to like 15, was going to bed hungry and moving every month. It was horrible. And he went through that, and that really changed him. And when he brought me up, he said, "Son, there's three kinds of people in the world. Those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that go, what happened? What happened?" And he goes, "Don't you be a what happened person." Well, I relate that to the whole prepping movement. Hello. I relate that to the whole prepping movement in that we have a thing. Show of hands if you're familiar with the normalcy bias is. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking. Now, if you went to Prepper Fest, you should know about normalcy bias because we have it, and it's also defined here in the little green handout. And we had it on big posters all over Prepper Fest Expo, what normalcy bias is. It's basically the majority of the people in the public are in the normalcy bias, and they're the what happened people. These are the people that aren't prepping, they aren't paying attention to GMO, they aren't paying attention to Freedom's Phoenix, they aren't paying attention to a lot of the people out there, like Sheriff Mack and Stuart Rhodes and Shane Krauser and the people that are trying to wake people up, because they're too busy making real decisions in life. When I go to talk to these people about prepping, they go, "Let's talk about something really important. Are we going to have chicken or beef for dinner? Or are we going to watch The Apprentice or Who's Got Talent on TV?" And you just want to wait. You just want to smack these people because they're not paying attention to what's going on. So we're going to talk a little bit. I want to talk about normalcy bias, black swan theory, and life assurance plan. But I wanted to hit the next event coming up is the Arizona Freedom Fest. I only have one flyer here. Karen Baldwin's putting that on. Did I say Karen Baldwin? Karen Johnson's. Excuse me. Karen Johnson's putting it on. She's a friend of mine. I've known her for a couple months. In fact, Ernie, I think, introduced me to her. And they have an A-list cadre of speakers there. Ernie's going to be speaking there. They have Chuck Baldwin, Joel Skousen, the strategic relocation guy. He's a really important guy. Stuart Rhodes, who was at Prepper Fest, is going to be there speaking. Sheriff Mack, who we wanted to have at Prepper Fest, who was out of town, who will be at our next Prepper Fest, is going to be up there. They have a whole bunch of people. They also have a lot of music going on up there. They have a water balloon fight, paintball, archery, kids playground, music, entertainment, cowboy church, pancake breakfast. It's coming up 2 weekends from this weekend, June 14th, 15th, and 16th. You can either camp out or stay in a nearby hotel. They're going to have a bunch of vendors up there. People are going to be gardening supplies, organic foods, arts and crafts, and other things. And so it'll be a lot of fun. It's a $10 admission, Friday and Saturday, June 14th and 15th. It's going to be up in Show Low. The website is ArizonaFreedomFest.com is the website. If you want to pop that up there. So that's going to be a really neat function. Also, there's another show coming up by a guy named Lance Baker. Lance did all the survivalist shows last year at the Commemorative Air Force Museum in Mesa, Arizona. Arizona Survivalist Show. He's doing a show in Prescott Valley at Tim's Toyota Center. That's going to be August 24th. It's a one-day show. and he's going to have a lot of the same stuff you saw at Prepperfest Expo, as well as a lot of educational courses. So these are two opportunities to get out of the heat, go up north, and get in the cool pines and enjoy the temperatures up there. Let's see. One of the things I like to promote, which Ernie mentioned, is community. We have to have a sense of community. That's what's great about what's going on here today. Excuse me, but it's hard to compete with people talking 5 feet from you. Thank you. So this is a community. We're here in a community. We're sharing ideas, sharing knowledge. We're learning about GMO. We're learning about all the things that Ernie's doing at Freedom's Phoenix. We need to be in community. That's what's important. You know, when I tried to bring together at Prepperfest the permaculture group and the Tea Partiers and the Preppers, people said, you can't do it, Tony. Permies are too left-wing. They're not going to get along with the Preppers. The Preppers are too right-wing. They're not going to get along with the Permies. And the Tea Partiers, is that guy that was talking smack about the Tea Party? Is that him right there? All right. So I want to address that. You were really smacking on the Tea Party pretty hard.
Yeah,
okay?
I do that.
I had people tell me you can't get the Tea Party groups and the Preppers to get together. Well, we did it. We did it at Prepperfest Expo. And you know what? The Valley Permaculture Alliance, I was a little worried because, you know, the marketing of Prepperfest was all about, you know, permaculture and organics and healthy living. We didn't have any of our marketing with any fear-based words, and we didn't have any of our marketing was about constitutional rights. But boy, if you were at Prepperfest, you saw a lot of constitutional rights stuff. We had them right front and center with Shane Krauser's American Academy for Constitutional Education. We had Stuart Rhodes there. We had the Posse's there. We had Ed Spites, who's an author. And I was worried when the Permies walk in there and see all those constitutional rights. They want us to go over in the corner and hurl and you know, really have a problem with all the Republican, Tea Party, right-wing, conservative stuff, because most Permies tend to lean a little left. Well, the VPA wrote me a letter, a card. They sent me a card after Prepperfest signed by 10 or 12 of their executive staff, thanking me profusely for Prepperfest and saying they're all in on the next one. So the Permies get it. We have the key is we have a common goal. The common goal is get the government the heck off our back and let us do what we want to do as long as we're not hurting anybody. Growing your own food, you know, having your own milk, being able to butcher your own livestock. These are things that everybody did up until the 40s and 50s. And now the government's saying you can't butcher your own livestock, you can't grow, you know, you can't grow your own food, you can't, you know, sell raw milk, it's all bad and evil. No, what's evil is the government is what's evil right now. And, you know, we got, you know, one of the reasons why it's so hard to get anything through the government with Monsanto is the damn Monsanto's run by, the FDA is run by ex-Monsanto execs, just like the Treasury Department's stacked with Goldman Sachs. I mean, we have a military-industrial complex where big business has infiltrated government and they control it. Okay, that's what it is. So what do? Do we sit here and complain about it? No. We have solutions like what Ernie's doing and what Rachel's doing, what I'm doing, is we need to prepare because we're going to be headed for some pretty tough times here. I know the economy's picking up right now, the real estate, just an article that Phoenix led the nation in real estate price increases, 22% last year. And you know, unemployment seems to be ticking down, although you never really know if you're cooking the books on those numbers. But there's this appearance that things are getting better, and they are in certain areas. Real estate, I'm a contractor. My day job is a home theater contractor, and our contracts are picking up. But I still see more. I see more and more homeless people standing at roadsides looking for handouts. I didn't see that in 2005, 6, and 7 like I am now. But where I'm going at with this is, don't let the appearance of the stock market going up and the real estate market going up lull you back into that normalcy bias that you don't need to prepare, that everything's going to be fine. There's some problems coming up here, most principally the government debt, that are not going to go away. And the government debt the dollar is a bubble. We had a dot-com bubble that didn't end well. We had a housing bubble in 2005, 6, and 7 that didn't end well. And we are going to have a dollar bubble that is going to make those bubbles seem like child's play. And it's just a matter of when, it's not a matter of if. No one can BS their way around it. The debt's not going to go away, and the way to prepare for it, we don't like to just talk about problems, we like to talk about solutions. So the way to prepare for that is to be self-reliant, which is a lot of what Ernie's doing with his domes and with his aquaponics and hydroponics and growing your own food. I've been to his house. He has goats and chickens. I have goats and chickens at my house. Create your own food sources to control what goes in your body so you can maintain your health, and you can tell them all to buzz off when they try to come around and indoctrinate you with some type of global currency and mark of the beast.
Yes.
So, so let's see. So I want to hit the three things in this brochure. There are three things in here: normalcy bias, black swan theory, and life assurance plan. If there's nothing you learn out of anything I say today, know what the normalcy bias is and make sure you're not in it. And the normalcy bias, as it's defined in here, it causes people, it's a mental state that we all are subject to, which causes people to underestimate both the possibility of a disaster and the consequences of it. People fail to adequately prepare, and when the disasters hit, they don't even acknowledge it as being something that's to be concerned about. And people tend to interpret warnings in the most optimistic way possible, seizing on ambiguity to infer a less serious situation. So we've seen this over and over again. I mean, the mayor of New Orleans and the governor of Louisiana told people to get the hell out before Katrina. A lot of people didn't, and they lost their lives. It's interesting, there's a guy named Barton Biggs who wrote a book called Wealth, War, and Wisdom, and he interviewed a whole bunch of people after World War II about what went on there. And in there he noted that a lot of people were saying that Hitler's going to be bad, and if you're Jewish, get the hell out of Germany, yet 80% of the Jews never left Germany. Oh, that Hitler, his bark's worse than his bite. Oh, yeah, we don't have to worry about him. Well, they paid dearly for their normalcy bias. They paid with their lives. And so what's on my heart to share with you today is we are headed for some tough times. This temporary increase in the economy, the stock market, the housing market, I don't believe it's sustainable, and the reason, and it's not just me, it's Porter Stansberry, Peter Schiff, Howard Ruff, Donald Trump. I mean, the litany of people that are really telling you the truth of what's going on in this economy is long and deep, and they're very smart people. Ron Paul. We all see this debt is going to come to roost, and when it does, it's going to be blood on the streets. And the way to prepare for it, I'm not here just trying to scare you, I want you to prepare. Be prepared, not scared. The way to prepare for it is to have your own food production. Have your own water filtration, have your bug out plan, have some gold and silver coins, some junk silver for barter currency, have a ham radio. It's easy to get a ham radio. I got my ham radio license last fall with Lisa Bedford. It's free, the courses are free, the test is I think $25 or $15. I studied 4 hours to get my ham radio license. The value of a ham radio is you can communicate in a grid down situation. It's what people use at Katrina and Hurricane Sandy when cell phones were down and landlines were down. People used ham radio because you just bounce the signal off the airwaves, off the ionosphere. So if you have, it's all about self-reliance. Have a self-reliant communication system, food production, currency, and then in a grid down situation, you want to be in a bug out location. We had a lady named Cindy Da Silva who's actually going to be my guest on the Pepper Patch radio show, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. She's all about bug out locations. She's working with property owners and people that are interested, preppers, in getting villages all over northern Arizona set up as bug out locations for people to go to. So if you're interested in looking into a bug out location, my email's on the back here. Send me an email and I'll forward it to Cindy, and you can listen to the radio show and learn about that. And there's a bunch of questions on the back here. There's some top 10 questions to ask yourself if you're serious about prepping. Where am I going to go for a safe shelter? How am I going to get there? How am I going to communicate? How am I going to feed my family? What am I going to use for water filtration? Do I have a community of like-minded people to get through this together? And we've got some great websites on the back there for information. I'll take questions at the end, and I don't know how I'm doing on time here. It's about 5-10 more minutes? Okay. So, okay, yeah, we're running late. I know I got started late. What I did want to talk about was my 10 stages of self-reliance awareness. I'm not going to be able to get into that today. I'm just going to, I was going to kind of go through each of the 10 stages. But I had this at Prepperfest Expo, and I'm actually going to be, I met some people yesterday, put this into a little booklet form, and we'll have that available on our website. I just want to briefly mention it. God put on my heart to write the 10 stages of self-reliance awareness. I'm just going to hit stage 1 and stage 10. Stage 1 is what I originally called it, the arrogant ignoramus, but then a lot of my friends said you really can't call most of the people in the world arrogant ignoramuses, so we renamed it the ostrich. So the ostrich is, we estimate over 50% of the public is in this. These are people who look at preppers are paranoid extremist morons. I have no time or interest to investigate the facts and data they present. Instead, let's talk about something more relevant. We're going to have pizza or wings for dinner, and what are we going to watch on TV?
How's those coyotes?
Yeah. The ostrich has their head so far stuck in the black hole of the normalcy bias that there's little hope of change until a major black swan event comes up and whacks them upside the head. And these people are just totally unprepared. One of my favorite quotes is a guy named Edmund Spencer. There is nothing more certain to keep people in everlasting ignorance than condemnation before investigation. And yet that's what these people do. They condemn preppers and the whole concept of preparedness without investigating if there really is some truth to this GMO problem, if there really is some truth to a lot of the things going on in the government, if there really is some truth to that our debt's unresolvable and it's going to end in a horrible situation. And then you go through and there's the pirate prepper, the reluctant seeker, the curious seeker, the reluctant believer, the novice prepper who just starts prepping for himself. Then there's that just begins, and then there's the selfish prepper. Then there's the family and friends prepper. Then there's the altruistic prepper, and then there's people at the other end of the spectrum, the preparedness advocates who spend their life. Their perception is reality. They see the world as the incredibly fragile and potentially dangerous place it is, and they are committed to waking people up and teaching them about self-reliance and preparedness. And so that's what we're trying to do. Our websites are lame, but we're working on them. As far as our next expo, we're planning an expo in November. I'm trying to find venues, and right now with the economy picking up, all of the big box stores that have been vacant all these years, like the Great Indoors and the Circuit City locations, are all getting absorbed. So we're really struggling to find a venue. We're adverse to going to traditional locations like the Arizona State Fairgrounds or America West Arena just because of the cost, the parking cost, the rules. You can't serve water and all the things they have. But we're planning on having a next Prepper Fest Expo will be either November 15th, 16th, and 17th, or the weekend after that, which is the weekend right before Thanksgiving. I will send Ernie an email and blast it out to everybody. Rachel, everybody will get it. Let's see, I think I covered everything. Yeah, it's just really important to be in a community, and that's what we're really committed to do. I'll take any questions. You had a question back there?
Well, I was just going to mention, you had mentioned Cindy Da Silva, and I've been working with her for probably the better part of a month. One of her land group purchases, and it's really interesting. And she's. You say you're going to have her on your show? Is that what you said?
Cindy's going to be on my radio show a week from tomorrow. I originally invited her to be on the show tomorrow. She's actually up in northern Arizona at a bug out, a bug out party at one of the villages.
Yeah, I was supposed to be there this morning, and I ended up here instead.
She invited me up there, and then Ernie invited me, and I got my radio show, so we're going to have her. I wanted to try and remote her in on the radio show tomorrow from the bug out location, but we don't know that her cell phone will work well. So we actually have Karen Johnson on the radio tomorrow talking about Arizona Freedom Fest up in Show Low, and then Cindy will be on the radio next Sunday.
So she's really great.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe this, if you believe that there's concerns going on, the big picture is, and I don't know how much Ernie talks about this, I haven't attended a lot of his breakfast clubs, I need to come here more often. The big picture is, the elitists in government think that the world's overpopulated. Okay, well maybe I think it is too, but I don't think that I'm God and I have to have the solution to eliminate 95% of the people through chemtrails and GMOs and HARP and all the things they're doing to basically cull the population. But the big picture is they want to control the world, and the plan is a 90-95% population reduction, and then they're going to have it down to 500 million people where they can control them with the mark of the beast and one world government, one world currency. That's the big picture. If you believe that, you want to get your butt out of Phoenix and get your butt out of cities and be in a remote rural location and having your own foods production, be in a community with other people. Don't try and do this on your own, and be prepared for it. Yes?
Have you thought about having the next Prepper Fest in a camping, like 3-day event type situation in the forest? I'm
planning a different event called the Prepper Games, which is going to be a bug out. See,
contest, my kids like win.
That's right. Yes. He's got a great mindset. Yeah, it's called the Prepper. It's called the Prepper Games, and it's going to be a bug out competition. I've got all the rules listed. You got to have a medic, you got to have a security perimeter, you got to have a kitchen, a bathroom, all these things. There's all these criteria people will be evaluated on in their little camps. We're going to set them up and have them all compete, and then there's going to be prizes for who's got the best security detail. We're even going to send in people at night to try and steal stuff from the campers and all that. It's going to be a lot of fun. But
there's going to be a lot of dogs there.
Yeah. The prevailing thought is that to do an event out of town, a lot of people will go, because a lot of people are normalcy biased. So we're doing our expos in town, but we're going to do the prepper games out of town. Yeah, any other questions real quick? One last question.
When is your radio show?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm sorry I didn't say that off the top. My radio show is on KFNX, 1100 AM. It's on the front cover of the brochure here. It's every Sunday from 2 to 3 on KFNX. You can also listen online. And past shows are at bepreparedradio.com. Did you want me to announce this, or are you doing it?
I'm
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Ernie.
Okay, now I know there's some questions for Rachel. Go ahead and come on up. Question for Rachel?
Yeah. Rachel, I'm sure you're familiar with a movie called...
Yes.
I'm sure you're familiar with a movie called King Corn. It was out like 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. In there, they went into how if farmers have any dealings with Monsanto at all, and then they try to do some things on their own with different patches of their land and non-Monsanto seeds, that they're still subject to Monsanto coming down and saying, wait a minute, you can't do that because we were doing business. Do you know anything about that, and how is Monsanto able to get away with that kind of stuff?
I have watched that movie. I don't recall exactly what you're talking about, but it wouldn't surprise me at all, because when you sign a royalty contract with them, which, by the way, if you want to buy seeds, you can't just buy seeds. You got to buy the seeds, the fertilizer, the chemicals, the whole package, and you get a book that you have to sign the rights away to the crop, because the crop doesn't belong to you. You are the caretaker of their patented product, okay? So it's a whole, you are only able to, you're a facilitator in this transaction, this is not your crop, okay? So that's how they're able to do it. I don't know, there probably is some it wouldn't surprise me at all. That's kind of how they think.
This is what's got the farmers in India committing suicide.
Oh, they figure over 270,000 farmer suicides right now. It used to be that you could buy a measure of cottonseed in India for about 5 rupee, and you could grow, maybe with 1 or 2 units, you could grow all your acreage. And I only know this because I heard Vandana Shiva talk about this, and she's from India. She runs Navadanya, which is a seed-saving kind of outlet for the rural cotton farmers now, and kind of like their little piece of hope. Because what happened is Monsanto came in the 80s and bought up all the seed companies. And so it became extremely difficult to find anything that wasn't a Monsanto seed, which is the same here. Although here we have more abilities to find the people that are out there, right? So 90% of the genetically engineered seeds are coming from Monsanto in the US. Okay, and it's a US company, so don't be surprised. And by the way, contamination is happening all over the world in surprising places. And they were caught in India saying they were caught and convicted of doing purposeful contamination. Because, oops, oh, you didn't want GMOs in your country? Sorry, they're there already. By the thousands of hectares, yes?
Yeah, what he was talking about is some seeds blew onto a farmer's land who was not contracted to Monsanto. And the courts ruled in favor of Monsanto and the farmer lost.
Yeah, absolutely. That's happened time and time again. Over 140 farms, over 500 farmers, okay? And that keeps going, and they get a gag order, and they can't even afford to defend themselves, and it's private investigators that do it. But they are starting to fight back and talk. The people who are savvy and get that this is bigger than just something happening to them in their farm are recognizing there's a major issue. And one guy, in another movie that's called Future of Food, one farmer got wise to it. And when he went to court and he was being prosecuted, they said, we took 300 samples from your acreage and we did this and this. And he's like, wait a minute, you did what? You went on my land and trespassed? Oh, by the way, it's totally legal for them to do this because it's a patent product. You're stealing their patented technology. And it's enforceable by law, and they do it all the time. That's why it can't be researched on in the United States. We have to get research from abroad. And it's very difficult to find the seeds or the chemicals and legally be able to do it in a usable research capacity. So anyway, so these guys get sued because of the contamination that ends up in their fields. And this one particular farmer said, you could not possibly have taken 300 samples in 2 weeks. That would have meant you would have had to have taken 33 samples a second. You only had 3 guys here. You're lying. And they proved it in court. And he countersued Monsanto and can't talk about the settlement. So I love it. There are people that are winning. This Percy Schmeiser I talked about, one of the first farmers in Canada to be sued by Monsanto for contamination in his fields, okay, of their product, which it was only a small amount, only along the roadside, kind of funny, like maybe where it would have been thrown from a car or off a truck or something like this. And yeah, he lost all of his seed. He had to destroy all his 35 years worth of grooming the seed naturally. Okay, heirloom seed. He had to burn it all. He lost all his crops, and then he had to pay restitution, and it was over $1 million. But finally, he won the last suit. Okay, 4 times, and the last suit he won $630 from Monsanto. But he set precedent. Okay, he spent over $250,000 representing himself in court, only to lose, but wiggled his way out of having to pay that $1 million fine because he didn't want a penny go in their pockets. Yes.
Could you remind us what the name of your movie was, and also if there are some other movies we can watch?
Sure. This movie, and if you want to buy a copy, we'll be back. I have one with me. We sell it for $20. It's a bit of a fundraiser for GMO-free Arizona. It's called Genetic Roulette. You can find it online sometimes for free. You can even find that little 10-minute remix of the video, which you can share from my site at gmofreeaz.org. That little handout I gave you has the website on it. Also a couple other really great clips there too. There's a 6.43 second clip at the very top of my website. And there's also a shopping guide on there that you can download, and a couple other links and some good information. That site's about ready to be completely revamped. It's good, it's functional, but it's about ready to be even better within the next couple months. Yeah, the March Against Monsanto that we had here, we had over 2,500 people register online for it. And that was with very little. I mean, I got called in 10 days before the march, and some young college kids going, "Can you help? We don't know what to do." I said, "Okay, yeah, I can help with what little time we had." And Ernie helped, and a few other people helped, and they made an amazing event, and without any permits and with no money. Okay, and we had estimates were as high as 3,000 people come through. And if you like us on the Facebook page, you'll see the march is a little clip that somebody videotaped the whole thing. It's like 20 minutes or less, and you can see the whole march. We're GMO-free Arizona on Facebook. So yeah, I mean, we're here to educate the state. That's basically what GMO-free Arizona is all about.
I was wondering about the salmon that GMOs make out of Monsanto.
Yeah, but they're bigger.
Yeah.
Are they releasing those into the wild?
They will be. They're going to be grown in the wild, okay, just off the wild. So they use usually our rivers and water systems, or adjacent to our rivers and water systems, to grow these farmed salmon. They're being grown right now in Panama. Okay, so they do the eggs in Canada on some island, and they put human growth hormones in them. They grow, and then it's 3 kinds of DNA. It's 2 kinds of salmon DNA and an eel. And they gene silence part of the DNA so that it stops its growing season, and it just has the signal to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing. So we don't know how that will transcribe into human DNA, how will that affect ours. Yeah, I think there's a movie based on it loosely, Godzilla, right? Oh yeah, Ring Bean's awesome. She was one of the young college kids that was like, what do we do? Right? She's awesome.
I worked a lot to actually get those guys to quit fighting and start working together.
I love it. Thank you. And we'll probably talk later, because whoever can get these guys to work together is great, because it's sometimes like herding cats. But I will tell you, this is the one conversation that everyone can come around. It doesn't matter if you're a Tea Party, Libertarian, or you don't care about politics, or you're 5 years old. This affects everybody. And I want to say, too, it affects the children maybe more so than us, okay? Even though for me, it really did affect me. Our DNA's set, our digestive system's set. These little ones are growing up in this. They will have never known pure food and pure DNA. We don't know how it will tamper with their DNA. In fact, I had some of the world's top scientists in my car over the summer last year, and I asked them, what was the most scary thing about GMOs? And they said, GMOs don't scare us. RNAi, gene silencing coming out, scares us the most, because we believe that it will be the most damaging thing that hits the market. And we don't know how damaging it will be, because we feel like it will damage children between the ages of 5 and 7. They are not set up to take an enzymatic insult. They have a window of vulnerability in that age bracket. And we believe that the gene silenced wheat, the gene silenced all kinds of stuff is coming out to apples. That's another new technology they're using. Yes?
I read an article recently that said, that approximately a fourth or a third of white folks are essentially allergic to dairy, but among Hispanics it's like 75 to 80, and among black folks it's like 90-95%. Why is it that there would be such a tremendous disparity in that regard between the different ethnic groups?
You know, I don't really know, but it is true. But it is the DNA. Sometimes we're more sensitive. Like certain groups, ethnic groups might be more sensitive to sunlight and get sunburned easier than darker people. Or you know what I mean? It's like, and they say like sometimes the Mediterranean people are more susceptible to celiac disease or the wheat allergy. We don't really know. I mean, and I think that's part of it is just humans are allergic to GMOs. Okay, some are more show up differently. It might show up like a different thing in me than it would in you. You know, and maybe because of age difference, it might not show up in you at all because of where you're at within your body's growth cycles, right? And so we don't really know. But what we do know is this: the body does put up an immunological front to GMOs, and it doesn't to gene silencing. Gene silencing, or RNAi, bypasses all of the body's protective barriers, and it goes straight in, and we don't know how it will be articulated in the human body. We do know that GMO wheat, or wheat in general, shares over 200 different DNA genes. Like, 200 genes like are the same in wheat as they are in the human body? That's crazy. And we don't know how turning them on or turning them off will affect human beings. In fact, that gene silenced apple that's coming out from Canada, I have a friend who's a doctor in Canada, and he lovingly refers to it as the AIDS apple. I said, what do you call it the AIDS apple for? He goes, because it doesn't brown. The brown is the apple's healing mechanism. It's its scab. What is it going to do to human beings, right?
Yeah, to answer his question, it comes out of Memorandum 200 of the Club of Rome. Kissinger said, cripple the white man, destroy the colors. That's it.
Cripple the what?
White man.
Cripple the white man, destroy the colors. That was Kissinger's Memorandum 200 out of the Club of Rome.
Interesting. That's the first time I've heard that one, and I'm going to leave that side of it to you. Yes?
Last question.
In the film Genetic Roulette, they mentioned the 9 main GMO crops, and you had mentioned all the stuff you were talking about, this RNA stuff now. There's already, right now on the market, GMO pineapples. They're piloting GMO citrus in Florida to be supposedly more resistant to freezing. There's a GMO strawberry that is blue. There is
Yum.
oh man, there was one other one. It was in Nova Scotia. Did you read about this, Rachel?
Oh, it's a joke. The cucumber?
Is that a joke? Okay.
It is a joke.
Okay, good.
It is a joke, but that's okay. Sometimes it takes a little while for that one. It's really, really funny when it takes you a couple days to figure it out. But there was somebody that ran with a comic joke about cucumbers causing, there's kids in the room. You have to look it up yourself. It's pretty funny.
We can guess.
Yeah, you can guess.
But the rest are a joke, right?
Yeah, out of Lapine, yeah, Canada from Nova Scotia. It's a joke. I'm sorry, I put it on my website too. It's pretty funny, or my Facebook page.
Transmitted a sexual disease or something?
No, it caused hair loss in a specific area of the human body that, yeah,
But the
that's
other ones
great.
that I mentioned were...
Are very true. Yeah, absolutely. And the genetically engineered animals are some of the most disturbing. This is the thing that really nobody even talks about amongst all the activists, right? Okay, so we've been using human DNA is like one of those things they love to genetically engineer into food. For some reason, this is like genius to scientists, right? Well, let's see what happens when we mix human DNA with this, and not just food, but also animals. And this was told to me by Andrew Kimbrell, who's an attorney for the Center for Food Safety, and he writes about this in one of his books. One of the first animals to be genetically engineered was a pig, and they used human DNA. And the animal was impotent, cross-eyed, could not stand under its own body weight, and it had a whole host of other problems with it. But I often like to ask this question and say, when does a pig stop being a pig and a human start being a human? And how crazy would it be to awaken your consciousness into the body of an impotent, cross-eyed pig that can't stand up? It's like, when do we just say, enough is enough, let's stop, right? One more question? You have time for one more?
Just said, real quick, go.
Have you made any connections between the GMO technology and all the many world's top geneticists that were dropping off like flies years back?
Yeah.
Over a 2-year period, there was the top geneticists in the world were dropping like flies, and it was astronomically odds for that to be
Yeah,
those to be
dozens of
accidents.
scientists are just waking up.
There were no convictions, but they were obviously killed because they knew what very few people on the planet knew, and it had to do with genetics.
I have heard of people being beaten to death or paralyzed on the way to testify in courts in other countries. I do know of people who have all kinds of, that do scientific research that have to watch their back continuously. I've traveled with some of them, and they understand that there are a lot of people that would like to see them not waking up. Here it's not as much of a problem as it is in other countries. I don't know about what you're talking about, so I would love to have you give you more
It looks like an obvious story of somebody trying to monopolize some technology.
Oh, it would not surprise me at all. I mean, when you start talking about $95 billion a year, a lot of people will trade your health for that and our children's health. And it is really about control. Absolutely.
Just briefly, if we could make them a flyer, every time you go to a restaurant, all the GMO thing, give it to the people that run it, and just be a way to cross-market the information.
You can. Institute for Responsible Technology has one. We'll have one adapted to Arizona very soon. You can look back on our website in about a month or so. We'll have a letter. There's also a list of ingredients on there that are predominantly from GMO origin. It's on the first page, gmofreeaz.org.
Yeah, every restaurant you can give it to them.
So did you get a little bit of information today? Yeah. But you know, we knew it had to get this bad before it would get better. You know, we've been, you know, I see a lot of people in this room that we've had that's been screaming this here at the Breakfast Club for decades when this was first starting. You know, they were going, they're changing the DNA and blah, like, ah! Yeah, but that's an experiment over there somewhere. I haven't been paying attention, even when we first started the food category on science, medicine, technology was one of the categories that we would put a lot of this stuff on Freedom's Phoenix starting in '06. We've been around since we started developing Freedom's Phoenix in June of '05. Kind of went beta, you know, October of '05, and by the first quarter in '06, we were rocking and rolling. It was then that we made an effort to put a lot of this stuff up. And then I kind of, yeah, I know it's getting bad, yeah, we got other stuff, and then all of a sudden you start looking now and you go, whoa, I had no idea it permeated our food system so much to where you have people that are like near death and all they do is stop eating wheat. They stop drinking dairy and immediately they got better. I had no idea why. I think it was Verda was telling me, she goes, the reason is because of the little fibers, what do you call them? Cilia, yeah, in your intestines that absorbs the nutrients, okay? Well, the wheat does this. You know, you have like, I don't know what, you know, we use, you know, high gluten, you know, to make stretchy dough and you want to, pizza crust and all that kind of stuff. When we had our pizza restaurant, we went high gluten flour. Why? Because they go like this. Well, you get that in your intestine and it flattens it down. It's like putting paste and glue over it, you know? So then all of a sudden you open it up. I mean, you go, is it really simply that simple? Is it getting the nutrition in your body so that when your heart pumps and it comes out of your aorta and it wears on it, you don't have enough nutrition to repair the cells and it starts to make it raw. And then the body's mechanism for fixing that raw spot is what? Cholesterol. You know, you got good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Your body, everybody's different. It was the patching system for your arteries. So what happens as you're still eating bad and you're still not repairing. The patch gets bigger, you have arteriosis. They go, oh, we're going to lower your cholesterol. So what, I can have an aneurysm? See, they're always going they're chasing the symptoms. You know, here, you know, an apple a day keeps the doctor away unless it doesn't brown. You know, so, I mean, this is, you know, see, the solutions are getting so simple. But the problem is so big. What's the solution? The solution is starting to meld. It's Tony and Rachel are overlapping into a lot of people starting to understand what's going on. But I'll leave you with this one warning. Alma, and Andrew Garcia, and Matt Papke, and John, a lot of the guys, they went to the Monsanto March. the big resistance that we get from everybody, nobody wants to touch this thing, is they say, yeah, but we don't want to talk about Agenda 21. Well, they don't understand that Agenda 21 is Monsanto. It is this, managed sustainable, if somebody gets to tell you what you can and can't grow, well, gee, I wonder if Monsanto's going to be the one growing. You see my point? You create a shiny badge position of power, they love that because then they get in charge of it. What? We don't have the FDA, the Treasury Department, the banking system, the war machine, government, business to the point you can't tell the difference between the two. That's the definition of fascism. So what happens? I know Alma. She's there, she's doing, ooh, and I'm always chastising her. She's up there, yeah, we're at Jackalope Freedom Festival. Man, we're going to this, we're going to that. We have vendors here and all these people, and we're not doing any government permits, and we're just going to whip ass. Well, you know at this Monsanto thing, there was plenty of government agents saying there, ooh, they're trying to be free over there. Well, I got a phone, and I can call the forest ranger. And before she even got home, there's an email from the federal government saying, we understand you're having a free kind of event thing. What's up? Hello?
Where can I send an official letter?
So I go, you just send it to me, I'll take care of it. So I record the conversation, I call. Hey, we don't want to be, obstinate or anything. We just want to know what was possibly on there that gave you the impression it wasn't just Alma going camping with her friends, which I kept telling her that's how she should portray this. Oh, we're this and we got, and we're going to have a, and go, no, you're not. You're going camping, and you're going to have some cool stuff, and whoever else goes. Yeah, but we're, no. I mean, stop doing that. You're doing exactly what they want. Especially on public government land. You see my point? So I'm going, quit doing it. Well, this happens, and I'm like, God, I want to give these guys a big wet kiss for making my point. So I talk to them, and I have them on tape, and I send the tape to her, so I edit down like 15 minutes, you go through all the holds and everything. And it went like this. Oh, no, we want you to have your event. We just want to make sure that we see that you have 275 likes on this, and if you go over 75 people in attendance, then you become an event that has to have and the permission slip of, and we check and do and kind of blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, we'll take that off. And what do we got the vendors going? Well, we'll take that off. And you go, we'll remove that. Okay, now what? Well, you mentioned one camping place. Okay, we'll do the whole bunch of camping place. Now what? Alma changes that, and I'm supposed to talk to their PR, government relation kind of media person, right? Called. She came on the show Friday. We called again during the break. We're talking about it on the radio. We're calling, trying. They don't want to talk to me anymore. And I go, well, I'm just assuming that the problem is solved now, and we don't need to communicate anymore. Peace out. And they won't say a word until we're there. VC, you are being free! Papers, please! I mean, So we have to educate everybody on how to answer. Hey, man, I'm just kidding. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Are you here for the Jackalope Freedom? I don't know. There's Jackalope Freedom Festival? So you have to understand how to deal with these guys. They're going, well, you got and you should have, we're going to search. You search for me, I don't know what that. You got probable cause, 15 gazillion video cameras. So you got to anticipate that they're coming. I knew eventually they would come. So this is, but you don't want to help them. So Alma has, rephrased everything and so on, so hopefully there won't be a problem this time. But it will grow. It'll become Burning Man. When Karen Johnson, this field that she's doing the Freedom Fest, Mark and I always wanted to do one of the Freedom Summits. Oh, it's going to be mid-February, 14th through the 16th. And you guys are going to be, some of you guys may know who these people are, some not. One of the speakers is going, well, I'll tell you that in a minute. But we wanted to do a summit at the summit. And the whole idea is we were going to go up in the mountains and kind of chill, make it cheaper, so we didn't have $250 thing to get there because you got to pay for all the crap. And I'm going, maybe just want to camp or something. So Karen and Donna and I and some other friends, we went up and we spent, the day with Karen and her husband just hanging out up there. And they were showing us, and they wanted us to go and do it at this farm. I find out later that the city has been eminent domaining pieces of this farm, of this land, and they want her gone. She's just an older woman that just wouldn't put up with nothing, and they're like, oh, they're targeting her. So I go, so if we go up there, I mean, you're going to have guys walking around smoking cigarettes and inhaling, and then what's the law enforcement going to do? What about they got guns? What about that? Well, yeah, okay, well, then we don't want to go there. Because I already know what's going to happen. People that go in a freedom thing, they act free. Then what? Well, we don't want them really free. So I'm going, that's somebody's property. So you got to respect, whatever rules that they put on that. So we're going to see how this Freedom Fest goes. We want to go and be part of it and have fun and be, we don't take US dollars. You got to transact and buy silver dimes or Bitcoins or whatever. Oh, you don't have a Bitcoin account? Well, let's sign you up. I mean, so we're going to go there and we'll have some fun and be an example. Then immediately after that, Alma and I leave to go to Pork Fest in New Hampshire. So we'll be gone for a week. Now, this example of what's going on here, Karen wanted to have an impact in Navajo County there. And the people are really starting to push back. But the government will not go quietly into that good night. I guarantee it. And this Agenda 21 is a big part of it, and they see it. It's how this international, we became the Soviet kind of thing, got infiltrated into the local communities. And all I go to somebody and I'll say, you just need to Google one thing. Green Cross, Mikhail Gorbachev. And we learned about it, I did, in like the mid-90s at the Arizona Breakfast Club. A guy came and told us all about it. He goes, you think Mikhail Gorbachev just went away? No. He immediately started the Green Cross as an environmental thing of how they were going to use Soviet government to infiltrate every local level of the entire planet. It got adopted by the United Nations, became part of this Rio de Janeiro Agenda 21, blah, blah, blah. Zikyle, that's how they're doing it. So we start pushing back. If you don't use or understand the mechanism that they're doing on a local level, well, then you're screwed before you start it. So the Agenda 20 thing, the one thing, starts coming up along with the GMO stuff and so on, but what do you have? At these events, there are people that are manning tables that say, but you don't get it, you don't understand. We need to have the Sustainable Development Central Plan of the whatever, because, and then you argue, no we don't, because, yeah, but you don't get it. We get a lot of money. If we capitulate to this plan, we get money. Well, are you getting any of that? Well, yeah, just a little bit for me to sit here. There's this table. You see my point? They are funding your enslavement. And if you don't have a fundamental understanding of just the rights of an individual to be able to just grow their own food, be left alone, raise your kids, and peace out, if you don't have a libertarian understanding, then all you are is just part of the same coin, just a different side. We're going to argue the control of you this way or that way. So I like that one guy in the thing goes, hey man, have your GMO. I don't care. Do I have to? Can I get labeled? Label, don't label? I'm just like, I just want to grow. Because I know that's where they're going to come next. Because they can't take a hit of 5 to 10%. When you start replacing the caloric intake of, all the, because what do they get? That's taxes in the food, in the production, every level of production, there's taxes being paid. There's money in the profits of the food, all this patent stuff, on and on and on. You start just doing this, growing, they have to attack that. Why did they go after South Central? You ain't gangsta unless you print money by growing food. Oh, hell no, we don't want that, catching on in minority communities. Because what was you see his thing, what was he saying? He goes, look, in my neighborhood, this is my neighborhood. Fast food restaurant signs everywhere. Liquor store sign everywhere. Dialysis organizations and groups everywhere. He goes, there are more dialysis and healthcare kind of stuff, little clinics popping up than freaking, anything else. And I'm going, wow, he sees the problem. Do you? See you next month. Oh! Saturday! This Saturday, are you available for a party this coming Saturday at our house? I know, that's what we want to have a party. Okay, well, can we go to your party?
That's the 15th, and you'll be at that other meeting. June 15th. And that's mine's June the 15th.
No, I mean this coming Saturday.
Celebrate early.
Well, can't we have a party?
Yeah, an early party.
Well, will you come to our party for you? Okay, Saturday at the Hancock, Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock or so. We'll just, chill. Bring your bathing suit. We want to see Burl in a bathing suit anyway. So go ahead. We're going to have a good time next Saturday. We'll go ahead and show you some of the stuff. We'll relax, and it's going to be in celebration of Burl's 90th birthday party, just for you guys. The breakfast club, just a breakfast club party. Come see, the farm's coming along and all that. And we'll just in celebration of Burl, 90 years old. Been coming to the breakfast club since wow, no when. What? No, to the breakfast club. How long you been? I'm not talking, when you had your first grandchild. I'm sorry. My math is wrong. So 74. Breakfast Club, 74. This information coming out. Mike, real quick.
Can I speak about the Freedom Fest Jordan Page thing?
Be my guest.
Briefly.
If you could do it in 3.2 minutes.
Oh, less than that. So, who in the room is familiar with Jordan Page, the musician? Excellent. Okay, who has bought their tickets to Freedom Fest? Who is going to Freedom Fest? If you're going to Freedom Fest, please buy your tickets. Please buy your camping early, and please donate some extra money if you can afford it. We're raising money to bring Jordan Page out to the Freedom Fest. Dara, Venetian, and I, and Thomas, who stepped out here for a minute, had a 4-way call with Jordan Page. We think we can raise the money to do it. One of the ways we're doing that is to try to promote people to pay for their tickets. If you pay for your ticket, when you get there, Jordan will not be there. So, that's all I have to say.
So Freedom Fest has agreed that, they know a lot of people's coming, a lot of people haven't signed up. If you sign up early, if they see a wave this weekend of people signing up for the Freedom Fest, get their tickets early, then they can justify the expense of bringing Jordan out, and he's reduced his rate, so that'll work out.
Who's Jordan Page?
He's a guitarist. He wrote a lot of Levolution, kind of, and you wouldn't like him. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the time there. I'm sure you know who Ted Gunderson is.
Yep.
The FBI guy?
Yes, he's recently released an expose on all the stuff he knows. He did kind of his own pawns in the game thing, and so FBI director tells all. Maybe you could talk about that or mention that.
Okay, so.
Send an article to Freedom's Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Freedom's Phoenix is for. You got something you want, put it up there. Waiting on you now. Tell Mike he knows how to do it. Okay, thanks. Next month, I have no idea. It'll be cool.
All right, we got a couple things here going. Going in the tickets, the first thing we have is a little doodad here that you put behind your ear as you're driving down the road. If your head falls down from going to sleep, it wakes you up. Okay, and that person is 3520. 3520.
Give it to somebody else, but I don't.
Okay.
You're like 4 numbers.
3489.
Oh, right here.
Woo!
Frank, give it to somebody else.
Give it to me! Damn it! Who wants it?
I fall asleep all the time on the road.
He gets it. He gets it.
Give it to
Here's your speaking gift.
I could use this.
Okay, the next one we have is if you put this on, you attach this to your wife and want to keep track of her, evidently you push the button and she lights up or something. I'm not really sure what all that is.
I don't know which button to push.
3522. There you go. Well, for all you local folks that drive down State Route 51, and you want to get past the photo radar, you have the stickers on. If you've been around, you've seen this picture on television several times. Right? All right. That is 3519.
How many want to see this on?
All right,
Get a camera.
Yeah, then they give you a ticket. All right, here we go. Well, Earl and Ruth want the book, so you guys go ahead and go get yourself a book.
Okay, this is, oh, you're going to do that again?
Yeah, they want to get the book.
Okay. 3503. He looks like that'll be an improvement over there.
We're still running your head.
Okay, first choice at the book's back there in the corner. 3490. 3490. Back in the corner, back there up the table, there's a bunch of books. Get your choice. We'll have Ernie draw one here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a book again, 3502. 3502. That's the book. Thank you, guys.
Okay, one last thing. How many of you know who Steve Porak is? You know, Steve Porak, sometimes you'll see him, you know, he has a cowboy hat, comes in, he owns Desert Sky Construction, he recently retired from, and he is he builds churches, you know, he's a contractor. Well, what happened, all of a sudden, like a month ago, he was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And they said, oh, you just go home to die. You know, we got some chemical stuff we can do this, and we can do that, and you can and all of a sudden all his friends went, oh, hell no, we don't want you to die. Do Gerson therapy, you know, do some nutrition stuff. And so he committed to that and has been doing it, went to a Sedona clinic and started and got the presses, and man, he went hardcore. And he had good days and bad days, but he's feeling like he's healing, so, you know, we can pray for him. But I tell you this, he wanted to be able to, he needed to fund his treatment, and all of a sudden that big 50 caliber rifle with a, you know, big scope didn't have as much allure to him, and he goes, you know, I want to sell my 50 caliber. Well, it's worth about $3,500, and Dean came up with the idea, he goes, sell it, why don't you raffle it? Oh, that's a good idea, and did. So they created a page for him. Up here, we got pictures of the rifle. If those of you who are interested, come up here. They're $20 a piece. Or you get 6 tickets for $100, and you just can Google Steve Porak, or we have it up on the site, and I keep putting it up towards the top of Freedom's Phoenix. You'll see it there, and you can just do it as a PayPal. You can go online and do it, or you can, you know, find them or call them or whatever. But it's easy to submit to get this thing. They're going to have the drawing on the 15th for a 50 caliber, and everybody in here needs to get one. Except Hal, because he won the last time we did it. So I want one too. You know, so I already got my tickets. So go ahead and take it. So you got a couple things to do at your computer. You go there, you go ahead and get the Freedom Fest tickets, and you get you some Steve Porak ticket. Just get one, $20 just for grins and giggles. And if you don't want the gun, like everybody else doesn't want all the good stuff, you just give it to me, and it's all good. See you next month.